no screaming babies. And includes you, Emma. And there we go. Hello, everyone. Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to our weekly live-streamed Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition online role-playing adventures. I'm joined, as always, by my good friends. I guess I'll still introduce you as normal, even though we're not really playing a full session tonight. This will be a special episode. Chris, has played the Nor Detective, Yuan-Ti Inquisitive Rogue, Divination Wizard Mannix.
Hello.
Heather had played the Dark Death Dealer Half-Drow Assassin Rogue Kaless.
Hello. I'm just a voice in your head.
That's right. Rochelle's played the Deepwater Diva Triton Bard of Whispers Gillian.
Hello.
Raymond's played the Heedlessly Brave Turtle Battlemaster Fighter Rogue George.
Hello.
Reese has played the Metal-Laced Mighty Morphin Hill Dwarf Druid of the Moon Theron.
Hello.
We streamed our sessions live on YouTube every Friday evening. You can watch all of our D&D live series as well as reviews and Let's Plays on my YouTube channel. Read weekly session recaps at roguewatson.com. And you can no longer watch my behind-the-scenes No Players Allowed live series Crafting Annihilation every Thursday. That has now concluded for right now. You can follow me on Twitter at roguewatson. Join our official...
That is still Reese without the beard.
Yes, that's right.
That's right.
Beardless Reese. It was his tomb beard. You can follow me on Twitter at roguewatson and join our official Discord discussion group with invite link in the description below. He's finally been released from his beard obligations. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/roguewatson. Shoutouts to Platinum patrons Andrew, Joe, Will, Tiny Dancer, Nick R, Andy, Chris, Manuel, Basil, and Nick C. And gold patrons RPG Papercrafts, Charming Grenade, Pretty Boy Yuma, Marcos Dade, Vicente, Gilberto, Sean, A.K. Cert to be Adam, Tethers Lounge, Sam, Ross, Olympus Buds, Jerome, and Fatboy619. Shoutouts to new gold patron Fatboy619. For our campaign, we use Roll20.net for video chat. We use Discord, and for streaming, I use Open Broadcaster software with Streamlabs. I'll be honest, I did not write a previously on for this session. It's been a bit of a week this week. So previously on, you all completed Tomb of Annihilation. Congratulations!
That's right.
Yay.
Literally feeding a baby with 1 a.m. right now.
Impromptu.
We have one D&D.
That's right.
Make it impromptu.
You had So you opened the skeleton gate. You walked down into a giant chamber that was the nursery for an undead god. That was a giant just fetus, I guess, suspended over lava with the soulmonger, with a bunch of tentacles coming out, and a giant battle ensued with Kaless being thrown into the lava and Theron morphing into a fire elemental and jumping in there with the exploding beads and spells going off and wraiths appearing, a Serac appearing and laying down some thunder and everything, and it was all kinds of exciting stuff. That is not my baby crying, by the way. She is my baby. My baby is nicely eating her bottle.
It also doesn't sound like crying. It just sounds like she's like talking over you.
Yeah.
I know you're
That
looking.
sounds like I'm trying to stay awake kind of talk.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not sleepy, Dad.
My baby's nicely eating her bottle right now.
And drink.
Emma.
That's right.
Looking
Yeah.
forward to a
and
time
then-
in the near future when it's just baby talk.
It's just what it's gonna be. Yeah.
It's just three babies talking to each other.
It's just gonna be all babies all the time.
Each
Hey,
Chris
Chris.
replaced by a
Tristan
baby,
host.
except for Chris's.
Yeah.
That's right.
At some point, Chris is gonna show up with a baby,
Talking to babies.
and his
It's-
Chris is like, I got a baby, everybody. I can join the baby talk now. And we're gonna be like, Chris,
Should we call the police?
where did you get that baby?
Sorry. Too far. You can't just.
Where
You
did
have
you?
to fit in.
You have to give it back. No, the mother won't take it now. So I'm just gonna, all the plans for my epilogue just kind of evaporated because of everything. But I'm basically gonna punt it to all of you and kind of decide how you want all your stories to wrap up from here. But with the Soulmonger destroyed, The world has been freed of the death curse. Souls are no longer violently ripped away at the point of death. They can be put into the afterlife or whatever. Are you okay? Okay. Whatever people have a preference for there. Bodies can be resurrected again in this universe. That's something that happens fairly commonplace, I think. And the sudden undead apocalypse that kind of was a thing because of when the people died, the bodies became zombies, begins to recede, and now it's just kind of back to normal, everyday undead uprisings in this universe. Just kind of, I don't know why anybody has a graveyard. I don't know why people bury their dead in a universe where undead is a fairly common thing, but there you go. And with the Atropal dead and Acerak seemingly has fled, the magic barrier, thanks to from the help of all your trickster gods that you were possessed by, the magic barrier around the massive dungeon that was kind of keeping spells from going in or out of it seems to momentarily subside. And using her magic, your genie ally, Keshma, as kind of her final task for the party, keeps the portal open that the Lich had left through, and that all of you can now use to step through one by one. And at some point she calls back and mentions that her bargain with you all has now been fulfilled, and just kind of gives you the finger and then just disappears away. And as you leave the dungeon...
Didn't we get 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait. Hold on.
Jesus
I've never.
Christ.
You used
Another wish.
Now remember-
you used one earlier. I think you had 2 left, and then one of them was to help in that battle, and I assume the third one was
Yeah.
to help you all escape the dungeon.
Oh, she counts the portal as... Okay.
Yeah.
We didn't trick her
It's
into it.
exactly, yeah.
Aladdin
I didn't
does.
actually wish that, yeah. But she does. She's kind of an asshole that way. Yeah. And then as you leave the dungeon, you feel all of your gods that had possessed you, as well as their associated magic items, just wither away. You can feel like they have a strong tie to the dungeon itself, as if they were actually imprisoned there. They were able to travel around, in your bodies. But when you
That's
leave,
not creepy sounding.
when you leave the dungeon, they actually cannot leave. So all those magic items just kind of dissolve.
Wonder.
Yeah, just dissolve away, and then those trickster gods go away.
Mannix loses 3 chest sizes.
That's
in a matter of
right.
moments.
Dude, it's like a D Captain America thing too. You're like this big buff guy and just
Yeah.
back down, yeah. And unfortunately, that has a very bad effect to those of you that had been momentarily resurrected by the trickster gods to finish that fight. Both George and Gillian just collapsed to the ground unconscious because your gods were basically keeping you alive at that moment. And Theron, you all, as you step through the portal, you all see Theron dust away, like at the end of Infinity War.
What?
He was actually disintegrated, and he just becomes dust as his trickster god goes away, just keeping him intact.
Oh, no.
The final
Wait, I
bleat
understand,
comes
was
from
your-
Theron.
Was your god keeping you intact the whole time? I don't.
Just for the last
At the
little
end,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
I got the
remember that.
disintegration ray.
Integration ray.
Now, I will say-
completely
yes,
obliterated.
yes. Okay.
Now, I will say, as
Oh,
part of the
no.
epilogue, you all did destroy the Soulmonger, so now it is now possible to go back to a world where people can be resurrected.
But can you resurrect a cloud of dust? I don't know how disintegration works.
I mean, you better
You
collect
have
it in a
the dust.
jar.
You run around grabbing handfuls of dust.
Yeah, basically. grab that dust.
The last words you hear on the wind is, "I hate mayonnaise." Fuck that guy.
So yeah, you can obviously collect his dust, and you know that now that the Soulmonger's been destroyed, that is a possibility. You also emerge with some very, very nice treasures, the stuff that doesn't get dissolved. The 2 biggest
No, my
treasures.
treasure.
Yeah, your treasure, just your body just disintegrates, but your magic shit at
Mannix
least I guess
finds a
remains.
will, leaving
It's
everything to him. I leave all my worldly possessions to Mannix.
How
Says it
ironic.
right here.
Burn the letter. But you had 2. One of them, Mannix, was the Black Opal Crown, which still kind of whispers bad things to you. and wants you to basically take up the mantle of being a acolyte of the Yuan-Ti and working to bring forth Dendar, the Night Serpent, into the world.
I still think that's a bad idea, right? Logically speaking.
You might think it's a bad
Do
idea,
you?
but you're probably smart enough to realize that like having it's almost a Ring of Winter situation or like a One Ring. Like it's a powerful artifact, but having it even near you is not doing good things to your psyche.
Right.
And you feel like you don't know how long you would be able to necessarily, fight off its influence, for example. Especially being here in the middle of like Yuan-Ti town, I guess. And the other thing was the Eye of Zaltik, which I think was a giant fist-sized ruby that you all recovered, which looks like it could be worth just a whole kingdom. Like this thing is insanely
Who grabbed that? I don't
expensive.
know what happened to that.
You could resurrect 10 Therans.
I mean, since Mannix is basically the only one who's conscious.
Yeah, and the other thing, Mannix, is you step out of the portal, and you're the only... George and Gillian are unconscious. You can obviously stabilize them if you want. Theron is a cloud of dust, and Kless is gone.
Wait, what? What happened to Kless?
What did happen, Kless? Let's start with Kless. What happened to you?
So hilariously, we did actually talk about this, so I knew this was coming.
I didn't know mine was coming.
I warned him to tell you, but he didn't listen to me.
I'm a dust his
ass. So Kless was the last one through the portal, and as Mannix steps out and sees George and Gillian just fall to the floor and Theron go poof. All he sees was lightning come out of the portal, and he hears Asarak's voice going, "This one will do nicely. You'll see her again."
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Last year,
And she just never appears.
She never
She
comes even
never appears, and the portal just it evaporates after that. There's no going back. Everyone else was able to get out.
Evil or Kaless?
That's right. Kless is already borderline. Yikes. Okay.
And now she's in the hands of a crazier wizard.
Yes. Wonderful.
Yeah. He told me about that, and I was like, "Oh, that's great, actually."
So my
What kind of
initial...
thing?
Get that sneak attack up so high, not even Mannix is going to see her.
Man,
She's one of the shadows now.
that's always the dichotomy, isn't it? How good is your perception versus how good is her stealth? But so my original plan, something I didn't get a chance to talk to yet for the crafting this week, but my last move, if you go back and watch the last session, the last thing I did before Asarak left is he tried to do his paralyzing touch on Kaless again. And my plan was to grab her, paralyze her, and grab her and say, like, I see, much potential in you or something, and then grab her and just exit out of there. And then she fucking made the save, like, just nailed it. It's like, oh, damn it. And then I told her about it afterwards, and she was like, wait, I really like that ending. Can we do that?
We just do that.
And I was like, yeah, we can do that. That's fine. Why leave it up? So that's an example. Why leave it up to the dice at that point? Just let it happen.
Right.
It was a fun thing to do.
It's going to become a Sith. And...
A red sword the next time you see me.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So tell me how you all want to handle this epilogue of events.
Well, Mannix will finish everyone off, take all their shit.
Become the supreme overlord of the Yuan-Ti.
I'm gonna haunt you for the rest of my days. That's my gold piece.
That's right. No, Mannix doesn't want any of these folks to die. In fact, he's genuinely worried about Kless being gone. She was still his bodyguard at the end. Yeah, I'll stabilize and do. I I've got lots of stuff I haven't used. I've got manga leaves and greater health potions and shit in my pack.
Just starts mixing shit together.
Were we letting him keep this shit when the rest of us were dying?
It was happening very quickly. There wasn't a lot of time.
This bag was labeled Mannix only.
Right. So yeah, I will collect as much of Theron as I can. If he just turned into
Just
dust.
don't rub me all over your body.
Oh no,
That's all.
exactly what I was gonna do.
I don't know why you would, but
To make a paste.
Just
it's
Your
Theron's
mud
biggest
mask.
fear.
It's a Theron mud mask.
like chocolate
Right.
milk mix.
I don't know what are we going to do now. I mean, assuming I revive everybody, we have Theron's dust in a jar. We
Just
I
make your way
assume-
back to Port Nyanzaru?
I suppose so. At this point, I feel like I don't know what everybody else is going to do, but I feel like at this point, Mannix is fully on board the Tomb Raider train. At this point, this whole peninsula has proven to be full of unexplored places with lots of gold and items and shit that he could sell.
Interesting.
And that kind of segues into it's probably more lucrative than his inner city detective work.
Oh, he's gone.
So he'd probably do is try to sell the UNT ring or the crown.
Crown. Yeah.
Try to find some collector or somebody who, you know, there's a fly like like doing like a halo
I
around my
just think
head.
you're being haunted again.
I've watched it fly in front of your camera a couple times. I'm just waiting for it to fly in his mouth as he's talking.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right. Yeah, because this is proven to be fairly lucrative.
It's a
and
dangerous thing to try to sell.
It is, but man, I mean, I don't. He doesn't want to hang on to it because it is having bad. It is giving him bad thoughts. But he's also not the selfless. You know, he's not artist. He's not going to hang on to this thing and dutifully protect it.
Yeah. Just sell it to the highest
He'll
bidder.
try to find
So-
some good-hearted, like you know,
First
selfless
scumbag
guy
he
who
comes
wants to
across.
lock the crown in a vault for safekeeping, so no one can get to it. He'll try to find somebody like that. See what they'll pay for it.
Trying to get the end of the Raiders Lost Ark.
That's right.
Just in a warehouse
Yeah,
somewhere.
exactly. Find the Area 51 that we could put it in a crate.
They'll bring out the alien skull later.
That's right.
Are you worried about the UNT hunting you down for the crown?
Probably. Actually, probably not until they show up and then be like, "Oh, right, this makes sense that you'd want this." It'd probably just be another escapade that he has to get out of because he doesn't really think about the fact that the UNT probably will track him down or try to like hunt him for this crown.
Yeah.
They sent an immortal dude into their lair.
So what? Say again?
They kind of sent an immortal dude into their lair,
true.
lair with artists.
As far as epilogues go, that's what I'm most curious about, to be honest. We left a big old hole in the story back in that UNT layer.
Well, do you
There
want
was
to?
like a kid and an artist.
Do you want to check? Does your character want to check up on that, or do you just want to leave all that?
Maybe define artist, because he seems like a kind of guy who might, help him out with some.
You need a new bodyguard now.
Yeah, I do need a new bodyguard. They seem fairly functional.
Would you try to tell him about the crown, or would you try to hide it?
At that point, I probably would have sold it first before I go back out. It probably
Where are you going to sell it?
It probably would have been go back to Port Nyanzaru, try to offload as much of the artifacts and stuff that I don't actively need as possible.
Yeah.
Pay for the greater restoration from Theron.
Yeah, right. Pay for the resurrection on Theron, which will even us out, by the way. There will be no more.
I was going to say.
Whatever I owe you.
The debt
I
comes in.
suppose.
That's the first thing Mannix says it there. Like, we are more than even now, my friend.
Thanks for resurrecting me.
Check to make sure you still have all your fingers
See
and
you later.
toes.
Right.
When you resurrect Theron, though, does he still have his little goat ears and his goat feet?
I mean, if the staff stays in the tomb, I assume that.
No, you still have the staff.
Oh.
Yeah, you lost Obalaka and you lost the was it Ring of Protection?
Mm-hmm.
But any of the other magic items you find, you still get to keep. And none of your magic items were blasted, I believe. Everything else was.
Unless Mannix sold it all.
Unless
before
Mannix sold
resurrecting
it
him.
all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And claimed it was to pay for your resurrection.
That's right. Resurrection was very expensive there.
As he drives away in his Ferrari.
And I made investments with that money. Foolish investments.
Foolish investments.
Let's say I resurrect there before I, actively tried to sell stuff.
Let's say.
George, what about you? What does George want to do after all this is said and done?
Shortly after Mannix helps him out, still in a weakened state, he thanks Mannix and heads off in a different direction.
Bye.
Yeah. He
Hi,
says,
Chalmers.
thanks, Mannix, but I've got a personal quest to go on now.
Oh god, he's looking for Zendala, isn't he?
Hi, George. I never really understood you. I still don't, but good luck.
Where do you go?
And you see George walking off in the direction of Omu. If I recall, Mannix might not figure this out, but if I recall, there's still some grung alive there.
Oh god.
Did we leave them alive? I think we did.
There's always some grung, yeah. Oh yeah, you.
It was like Grung Princeling and all those people.
That was for sure.
We for a moment convinced George it was better to leave them without their treasure than it was to kill them all.
I think the key was that Raymond was gone for one session. We were dealing with him, and that was why we got through.
And George.
That does sound familiar.
Yeah.
Where we were this close to destroying them all, and then I was gone for something. I don't know, a baby or something. But when I came back, y'all were like, "Don't worry about it."
Yeah. We distracted you.
We passed it.
We made it work. It's fine.
Exactly.
George suddenly remembers.
But,
Wait, there was grung back there.
He does. It's a good place to start. Kill them all but one, and then figure out where the rest of them are hiding.
God, the grung are gonna mythologize you now as this legend has it. There's this maniac turtle that stalks the jungle.
Yep.
The story
About
they tell.
10 years from now, you're going to hear about this ninja turtle who is a vicious
sadistic murderer.
grudge.
Hawks the jungles of Omu.
Yep.
Murders anything even resembling a frog.
Genocide.
No one's seen the grung for years.
Yeah, they had to go into hiding now.
They had to go into hiding, right? No one's seen them for years. People think that they're extinct. Every now and then, someone catches a glimpse of one, and it's like fairies or a leprechaun, Grung have become this.
You've wiped them out from my universe.
Sorry, D&D. Grung aren't a thing anymore.
Grung are no longer a thing.
George made it so.
Canonically, I have hunted them down and exterminated them. Good lord, I've unleashed
the
a
ones alive are
monster
hiding.
upon this world.
True. And you said he still got his magic items, except the only thing he doesn't have is the staff of Mo, right?
Right.
And
yeah, so you still have your swords and the cape and all that, yeah.
the cape. Yep. So he's learned a lot during this quest.
Just
Oh my god! George is the fucking Taliban! We trained him, and now he's a terrorist! Oh, what have we done?
monstrous.
With this cape, you think you catch up to him, but he always saves it for reserve. And as soon as someone tries to catch up to him, poof, it's 500 feet away. Any direction. You don't know which
Batman.
direction he went.
Yep. Nice.
Always one step.
Stalks the jungles.
That's pretty
That's-
good.
Gillian, what are you gonna do after all this?
I think Gillian is probably going to go home and release her brother monkey's soul into the sea. Like,
What about Brother
by,
Monkey?
by drowning the monkey? I don't know how you do
yeah, that's exactly actually what I was thinking.
Oh no.
Like,
It's a very nice, ornate ritual that ends with her drowning a monkey.
Ends with you drowning. Do I need to share the picture of the monkey and how cute it is?
no. I just like let the monkey go into the sea, and then my brother's soul leaves, and the monkey just falls in. Although,
It's worse than me stabbing the monkeys at the beginning of the campaign.
Such terrible,
so that's
terrible
what Gillian
people.
does. That was like her whole thing was like finding her
Mhm.
brother. So and then I think just she goes back to living her life in the
Princess or whatever.
and
whatever
the
it is.
noble I forgot exactly what she does, but whatever kind of nobility in the sea.
Nice.
I almost
could-
died several times. Never doing that again.
Yeah.
You could probably serve as a liaison to that to like all of that peninsula. Since you're
Yeah.
a known quantity
that.
in Chult now, yeah. You could establish like
Yeah.
a Triton embassy there or something.
Yeah. Set up some trade routes.
There you go. Theron, it looks like you are resurrected by Manix at some point.
All right,
So you get an epilogue after all.
time to shine.
What happens to...
I assume both Gillian and George would not take the offer, but I will, in fact, offer Theron to come along with me treasure hunting. He probably won't take it. But...
Oh boy.
Oh, he did it expecting you not to take it, so if you do take it, he's going to be all fucked up now.
All right. Let's see. I was going to say what would happen to Theron realistically at this point, but I think for a more happy ending, I'll go treasure hunting with Manix, and we'll find a lot of treasure and act like an old married couple the entire
Yes.
time.
It's a sitcom. It's just a spin-off sitcom at that point.
And have an odd couple type sitcom.
It finally
Going on in
ends
the
with a
jungle
marriage in
cults.
Port Nyanzaru.
My
It's-
original thought was he was going to take all the gold, all the treasure he collected, find some place to either stow it away in some kind of mountain or bury it so no one could get to it. Hunt down the remaining undead that he could find. Half goat, half dwarf, half earth elemental.
God.
Eventually,
Chult has multiple legends now.
yeah, go insane from getting hit at some point because of this adamantine skeleton,
Mm-hmm.
and would just keep on going berserk until eventually someone just killed him a few days
Oh
later.
my god!
It's just
I can imagine a scenario
So
where your
dark.
Earth Elemental form went berserk, and it just never left. The Earth Elemental was just berserk for the
It's
rest
just,
of your
it's
life.
just a feral, yeah.
yeah. But canonically, I'm gonna go treasure hunting with Manix.
Great. Still bury your gold and hunt undead while we're doing our thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Manix does go back and unbury it though and stuff it in his pockets after you bury it.
And it's just that continuous cycle
Yeah.
over and over again.
Every time, Manix's owl familiar is just following you as you walk out into the jungle and bury your gold.
I could have sworn I buried it here last time.
You steal the gold from Manix because he's not paying any attention and bury it again.
Excellent. So most of you actually stay in Omu. That's surprising, given how dangerous it is. Celeste, do you want to reveal at all about what your character does, or do you want to keep that as just a tease for A big question mark.
Be a question mark that'll come up, I'm sure, eventually.
Use you as a mini boss fight at some point.
Yeah, right.
That's what I said earlier today.
Yeah,
Can you
I like that.
imagine that boss fight? Like a level 15 Celeste versus everybody? Jesus.
That would be interesting.
So, what we're going to do now is just kind of do our a recap. We're going to go through the campaign, kind of area by area, and just kind of reminisce about it and talk about everything that went down. And it's a chance for you all, and just totally out of character. We can chat about what worked, what didn't. We can look at maps, any of that stuff. Feel free to ask me and chat. You're the same way. This is our chance to just kind of go through everything about the campaign. This was a long one. This was 86 sessions, not including a session 0. 23 months of gameplay. This was
crazy.
for sure our longest campaign to date. I did not expect it to be that long, obviously, when I started, but overall I ended up really enjoying the hell out of it.
Dude, you gotta give a shout out to the dude who watched like 20 some odd episodes to catch up for tonight.
Yeah, that was nuts. Holy crap.
That's 60 hours worth of.
I'm always blown away. I'm always blown away by folks that say that they binge watch and can watch that much.
Right.
That's incredibly cool. So we started. So that was 67 KND, by the way. Shout out.
Nice.
I changed the beginning from the written book because it was incredibly lame and stupid. Basically, the way the campaign starts, you have some random benefactor who hires you, who is dying from the death curse, and says, hey, I forget what information she knows and what she tells you. I guess, obviously, they know it's in Schult because they're sending you there, but they don't know where exactly is the problem. But she's like, I've hired you all the team, you're going to go to Schult and find out what's going on. I think you even know what the Soulmonger, maybe you know what it is? I don't know, I forget. Anyway, I got rid of all that, and instead I tied it into, I still made it to where you got that mission at the beginning, which, in hindsight, it's a lot of info dump at the beginning, and then there's just no payoff for the longest time. And there's not a whole lot of steps to this main quest, unfortunately, now that I really look at the whole thing. Basically, the first main step is find out where the Soulmonger is, and once you learn that information, then you just have to go there, which is Omu. And then once you know that, then in Omu, things start, okay, now we got to collect the shrine keys, now we got to get into the dungeon, all that. But until then, like, most of it is not really any kind of main quest. There's no, like, twists and turns. There's no real villains that are popping up and all that. It's just a whole bunch of overworld exploration, jungle crawl stuff, which that stuff is pretty good. But in terms of the main quest, maybe in hindsight, I should have just had it so all of you were going to Omu to Schult for your own reasons. And then maybe you discover organically this death curse in the area, and then somehow you can learn things along the way had I planned it a little bit better, rather than trying to give you this big quest at the beginning, like here's your main quest, and then you just don't learn anything about it for a while. So that was something I learned about. But I did like having you guys not be teleported to the town, which is how the book starts. It's like just teleport them to Port 90 and they start there. I was like, man, this is such an exotic place. So I put you guys on a ship and had you guys all travel to.
How does that dragon turtle thing work? If you just teleport us there, is that even a thing in the book?
The dragon turtle's there, but only if you go. Obviously, if you leave by boat or enter. I mean, it does say you can enter by boat somehow.
That doesn't work half as well if we don't have to go there first and see it in action before we have to leave.
Yeah. Trying to see, it's gonna take me a second to. I restored all my archived pages, so you'll have to
What all?
bear with me. Hang on, I literally have to put you in. All right, there we go. So this is a map, which was our boat map, which was really fun. A lot of folks liked this map and liked this scenario where I introduced So I introduced Undril early on. As kind of the NPC that would join you all early on, and I used Kalinar and whatever his name was, the Lich from our Prince of the Apocalypse. So that was a neat way of tying that shit in. I always like the MCU method of having overlapping stuff. Raymond, you're muted, by the way. And then you guys met Zendala on this ship, and that was a way that there was just another NPC that was out there that had her own storyline going. There's a lot of really interesting NPC stuff going on. Obviously, all the guides, and I thought that was just a fun scenario with all the harpies and sharks and shit. So that was neat. And I did not want to leave you guys at level 1 very long. That was definitely not the goal. And you guys were level 1 for all of 2 sessions. Now we can talk about how much you guys were left in, tier 1 forever in a day, but you were only level 1 for 2 sessions. Who was your favorite? Oh man, asking all kinds of questions here. Favorite magic items. What was your favorite boss fight? These are all very long, in-depth questions, but yes, feel free to engage with that. I had a lot of really fun boss fights here, actually. I thought Tomb had a lot of really good ones. So, Port Nyanzaru, honestly, I love the hell out of this city. In terms of, urban environments with things to do, of all of the adventures I've read from Wizards of the Coast, this might be my single favorite. And that includes, Baldur's Gate, and I guess the Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Obviously, the entire adventure takes place in Waterdeep, so that one's... Actually, that was probably the best in terms of how well fleshed out it is. But for an adventure that, honestly, Port Nyanzaru is kind of just a small blip, in terms of the entire adventure. There's actually a lot going on here, and I had a lot of fun expanding the hell out of it. I mean, it's a gorgeous map. The dinosaur races was a fucking cool thing. I loved.
Well, that was a cool bit, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really fun to plan. I used, I think it was the Tomb of Annihilation Companion, something on the DM's Guild to really flesh out the race and make sure it had multiple stages. Because as written, the race is there, but it's not. It's like a single check or 2 checks or something. And the thing I read had it be okay, here's phase 1, there's this event and these checks. Phase 2, there's this event and these checks. And it made it really cool in terms of having multiple stages and just a good way of organizing it, I thought. So I highly recommend doing that way for the dinosaur races. And we spent 3 sessions in this town, and then went to Fort Belwarian, where you guys just massively fucked that place up so funnily.
I love that whole sequence.
That was hilarious. Yeah.
The third running around as a spider being like Nightmare on Elm Street or Jason terrorizing the guards and all that shit.
You guys walked up to the front door and fucked things up so bad with that person that they were just not gonna let you in. And then Theron transformed into a giant spider, ran around distracting everybody. All of you snuck in the back end, and then I think Gillian posed as a diplomat, while I think Celeste stole some. It was all kinds of everybody split up and doing things. Ended up being really fun, and obviously not anything like how I planned.
I think that whole bit was a good lesson for you too. That oh wait, these are anti-hero players. They're not going to be the social
Which I should have expected, because that's basically how you played Prince of the Apocalypse as well.
It's more fun to be the bad guys.
A little bit, yeah. I think it was just she was looking for us to just be subservient, and we just all uniformly all of us refused to be subservient.
Absolutely. But yeah, and there was that whole event with you rescuing Inette from that halfling wizard who had zombies chained up. That was a thing from the DM's Guild. That was actually an Adventurers League module that I expanded on. So I just took a lot of events happening around this city and really tried to expand it, make it fun, because I knew that all of this campaign was going to take place in the jungle, in dungeons and out. So we're not going to get any city stuff. So I was I need to try. I mean, it sucks that it kind of front loads it, all of it in one area, but I really wanted to make sure there was a lot going on here so that we got a lot of that kind of adventure. So we spent
7K and we set everything on fire at that freaking place.
Yeah, that's true. You were throwing alchemist fire around everywhere. Yeah.
I had candles. I put oil on the walls and lit candles as time bombs. It's not my fault.
Yeah, that was funny. And it's such a weird, because that's an example of a location where you look at it and you're there's nothing interesting going on here. I don't even know if I want to use it. And then I was like, well, let's do that one quest. Roka's gonna bring you up there, and just we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll be a social thing, who knows? And it just ends up being this hugely memorable thing. So, and sometimes it doesn't all work that way. Sometimes things,
Right.
and sometimes the opposite. Sometimes you look at something like, this is gonna be really cool, and it just falls totally flat with the party. I don't know if I'll have an example of that, but yeah, Fort Belwarian was one that worked really well. And so you guys actually went there, and thank you, Arash, that was nice. And you came back to the city for actually like 2 more sessions. We did the dinosaur race. We did that big zombie fight at the gates. All the undead came in and you defended it, which was that was like a paragraph of like one of the things that can happen in the city, and I just expanded on that. So yeah, I totally recommend anybody wanting to run Tomb. Like Port Nines already was an awesome location with a lot of really fun stuff going on there, and you can definitely milk it. And it worked out well because you all were level 2 for all of those things, so that by the time you entered the jungle and really got that part of the adventure started, that then leveled you up to 3. So by the time I had to start doing
Fort Belwarian?
yeah, you were 2 for all that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's crazy in hindsight, but
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Theron
Okay,
only had like a
that's
couple wild shapes, yeah.
Level 2 adventure fun, because usually it's like getting out of level, the low levels is just the goal.
And that can add a fun challenge to it, is when because as player, and it's partly a problem with D&D, like you end up getting so powerful where you really feel like you can throw your weight around. And like if the average guard is like a level 2 or 3 NPC and you're level 12, like what the fuck? You can just... It's kind of like the dynamic. I think they've done superhero shows about that. Like, what if people had superpowers and they were also just people and not all Captain America?
Right.
Like, there would
The
be a lot of
boys, yeah,
huge problems with that. Yeah, they just fucking throw their weight around, and that kind of ends up happening with a lot of player characters too. And so it's fun when you're not that level and you're actually, level 2 and 3, and you kind of have to worry about like the law and social etiquette and all that. Level 3, we got to the jungle. I don't have necessarily... I guess we can go to the actual map, can't we? Because I used a lot of random maps. So one interesting thing is I have a player's map. This will take a while to load, by the way. And then I have a DM's map. So I can actually show you what this looks like uncovered. Yeah, it's going to take a while to load. And you can see how I moved... it's still loading on my end, by the way. You can see how I moved things around, too. And obviously the goal of this was not to uncover every hex or anything like that. I just thought this was a really neat thing in Roll20 where you could actively, like, kind of do a little fog of war thing and move along hex to hex. I had a lot more rules set up for, traveling and foraging and worrying about what pace you're traveling at and all that I quickly threw out and realized that I'm just going to script everything. Like, I'm not going to leave...
That's not what we care about.
Yeah, it's going to take so much time to actually hex crawl through this jungle. So what I did is I think I found a website that, like, pre-rolls, like, all the days in terms of... And I looked at that and basically saw, okay, what is the encounter rate? Like, how often are they getting encounters every day and that kind of thing? And I used that, and then I looked at what encounters it gave me, and then I would replace them as I saw fit. So I would just use whatever fun ones that I got. So we had, like, there was a plesiosaur fight on the river. There was, velociraptors. There was that fight with the weird flower that could turn people into zombies, which almost killed Theron straight up. Yeah. Because I think it has an ability where it just auto kills or something.
I remember, at the end of that episode, you're like, so how okay are you guys with just dying?
That's right. That was the question.
And I want to know, at what point were you not okay with us dying anymore?
That's true. Cause it's
Because Raymond just got annihilated at one point. You saved it by like, just take all your death saves now instead of just dying.
Yeah. Well, I might have actually changed it for that too. So I've been going back and forth on that for a while. The thing that bugs me about 5e is they have the death save rule built in, and then they have extra things that are like that just auto kill you. And some of them make sense. Some of them, it's like a giant smushy trap. And if you get smushed by this, there's nothing left. You're not unconscious. You're squished to smithereens. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
There's a smushy trap because I thought that was going to be some kind of like weapon or something like that. Then I watched your hands come together, so I'm like, oh, it's like rocks coming together.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're getting smushed.
Smushy.
Okay.
Yeah, which we'll get to that because that was the Typhoon Palace had these giant things, and you guys played it right because it was a thing that did this literally if you stepped on there without having the right necklace or something, and it did a bazillion damage, and if you took that damage to where it downed you, then you were gonzo. That kind of thing, I think I would have had to kill you. But for stuff, there's other stuff that's just like, and this kills them. Like one of the things was like there's a death ray that the beholder can shoot. And it's like, if this drops you to 0, it kills you. It's like, okay, but why? You know, so I did rule on that one, specifically that one, and I think I had one or two more that I altered because it just didn't seem like I have a good reason for it. It just seemed lame. I was like, well, this, you know, it because you already have the rules built in where if you drop to 0, you get to roll death saves. Like, why does this auto kill you? Now, the disintegrate ray disintegrates you. That one I left in there. As I said, there were a few traps that did kill you. But yeah, so some of the auto kill stuff I just didn't sit well with me. But the flower one was probably the first time I was really looking at going, oh wow, this actually I need to make sure I'm well versed in how this thing works and what the ramifications are, yeah. That was a good question though. So did you guys ever think that there was going to be much of an option in terms of where all you wanted to go and what you wanted to do? Because I kind of put you on a path to begin with by having that NPC steer you all to Camp Righteous, which was along the river, and that was the first. That was where Undra wanted to go. Was there ever a case where you thought about like just bumming around and exploring the place, or would you want to just kind of let's just take this set path and go from there? Because it ended up being I kind of dragged you along. I kept on like unlocking locations as it went, and I realized halfway through I was like, oh, I actually turned this like open world exploration into a pretty linear path for you all to follow.
To some degree, I think there were some decision points where we like, do we go left, do we go right? I remember a number of those. I don't think any of us ever considered just wandering. I don't know. I feel like that's just a consequence of the way we play and the fact that we know that you have to prep maps for everything that we do.
Yeah.
So us just wandering off into the jungle to see what we find is not a viable option.
I don't know. I just never think to just wander off the main
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most of us are thinking fairly narratively in terms of like, okay, well, is this part of the story or isn't it?
Yeah. Does the DM have this content prepped or not? Something also that the adventure does, the book does as written, which there's been a lot of discussion about, is it puts a timer, and basically your benefactor is literally losing hit points every day, and it is possible for her to die from the death curse. So you have only like, I forget what it is, like 30 days or something to go all the way to Omu, get down to do all the things in Omu, go down to the tomb and do the soulmonger. But then they give you this giant exploration thing. So the two things are just are not compatible, and because
even if that the way we were playing it with just those decision points, like do you want to go to this temple or this temple?
Yeah.
Even then it would have been like, well, we have to go left because left is the direction our main quest has to get to.
Yeah. So I eliminated the timer because it just seemed stupid and arbitrary. I mean, you kind of had an overall like, hey, we should probably take care of the zombie apocalypse that's happening, but it wasn't like a specific like you've got this many days or. It seems bad, yeah. But I got rid of all the like it could have been like you guys are supposed to roll like survival checks and you could get lost and end up in this hex. Like I had all the kind of rules for that, and very quickly I realized, holy shit, I'm not doing that. Like.
Yeah, that could have been cool only if you had stuff prepared for that. Like, okay, you guys get lost, and here's this other thing that I prepared for you to find. You know what I mean?
But even then, it would have added so much more time. Like, just based on the amount of encounters, you guys averaged like an encounter a day, basically. Now, it wasn't necessarily a combat encounter, but still, there was something happening. And if you guys start getting lost and I start hiding your token and all that, and this map is just too damn big. If this was a tenth of the size, you know, then I could see, okay, there's a few areas of interest, and then you can get lost and you don't know where you are. But given the size of this thing, like, you don't need to have, like, navigation checks at all. Like the map is so big where even if you make it exactly where you need to go every time, you're going to have plenty of, you're going to exhaust all the jungle encounters, and there are a lot of encounters in the book. So I definitely.
So somebody in the chat just asked what revealed in the game surprised you the most to the player.
Yeah.
And I think, me personally, the reveal that we weren't going to explore this entire island was the most shocking thing to me.
Really? Yeah.
Because I looked at this map when we first showed it, and I was like, "Oh shit, this is a lot of ground to cover." Like I literally thought we were gonna uncover every single hex of this island.
Yeah.
Or this. So when I don't know how long into it was. It was probably like the second or third location in the peninsula. I was like, "Oh no, we're not. We're just gonna get like a little tiny chunk of this."
Yeah, that's something I learned fairly early on to the jungle excursion. Is I had it mapped out. I was like, okay, you're going to be level 3 until this point, level 4 here. And then I was like, I'm going to use the main quest of you need to go to Oralunga and Nangalore to get 2 pieces of information. And then between those 2, that will give you the location, or no, that will give you access to the boat back at Port Nine Zaru. And then you can use that boat to then go all the way around and take care of all the boat stuff, which was the pirates, which I think is a cool side quest. And then that makes it easy access to go all the way around to Shilku Bay and then go into Wormheart Mine. Basically an easier way to get to Omu rather than having to continue along the jungle. So my plan at some point was like, okay, they're only going to really explore about half this jungle area and then go back to the town and then actually go do some sea adventures. And I thought that worked out as a pretty good cadence. And then we actually didn't go to Nangalore at all because I forgot the reason. I think because of this, the yellow line. You guys learned the route of the Company of the Banner, and at some point, I swear, Chris, I think you just said, "Well, we already know where that is," and I thought as a DM, like, yeah, they do know where that is now. And at first, I thought, oh fuck, that means they don't have to go there. But then I thought, okay, well, that's probably good because we spent a long time in the jungle anyway.
Yeah.
But that was a whole map. That's a whole dungeon area, and it's kind of a neat location. Kirsabal is an Aarakocra village that we didn't do.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a monastery. They've got like the last surviving princess of Omu there. You can take a ritual that allows you to fly over the jungle, so that's one way you can get to Omu. So there's some neat stuff going on in there. I can actually show you the map for Nangalore. It's kind of a bit of a bummer we didn't get to use it, but on the other hand, like we spent so long doing all that. So level 3 was a bunch of random encounters. I guess we can go to Camp Righteous. At some point, you guys learned Azaka, one of your guides, was a were-tiger. That was a fun reveal.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see, where is...
Having to deal with that.
Yeah. God, all these maps are just everywhere now.
Mixed up.
Yeah. Okay, one thing I can show you, too, is the DM map. So notice the location on this map of the Wreck of the Star Goddess and Dungrunglung. They're all right there in the same area, basically, in that middle Aldani Basin. And now I'm going to take you to the DM's map, which I believe is the original map of Chult before I got my hands on it and made some adjustments. And this is also sans all of the hexes, so this is what the actual map looks like.
Oh, wow, okay.
So you can tell I moved Dungrunglung, which was the Grung...
Closer.
Yeah, that was the Grung city. I moved that all the way down to the Aldani Basin in the swamps. It makes sense there, and I moved the Wreck of the Star Goddess all the way north because I was like, this is too much jungle crawl. I don't want them to do this much jungle crawl.
You would have ended up saying like, and then you travel 4 days and nothing happened.
Exactly. I was like, I might as well just put this all. I might as well just condense this area. Again, this is too much map. Like it's a fun thing to do, but this jungle crawl needed to be about half this size, honestly, to keep up with the pacing. I think those are the only 2 ones I actually ended up moving, though. Yeah, I put Vorn next to Yeliark, which wasn't a big deal there. But so let's see. Camp Righteous was pretty fun. That was our first little mini tomb, which I believe is the first time we had a player go down. This is the one where you guys had to do the person on the person's back. And then do like the floor puzzle. It's a really neat like miniature version of the kind of shit you'll find in the Tomb of the Nine Gods, which was a neat location.
Is this one where we had like the chickens or the dinosaur chickens?
Yes, yeah, big old ostrich things.
Yeah.
Axe beaks, yeah.
There you go.
There were goblins here at first, and then I think what you're seeing now, I don't know. I think we never. I think at one point I thought you might come back here, and I think I put a bunch of undead here just in case. That's why there's. You probably don't recognize anything here, but this is where you thought was the was Undrill's people, and it turns out it was destroyed and they had moved camp. But you still got to explore the little dungeon here. And then the twist is that they're actually at Camp Vengeance, but before you went there, you went to Yeliark, which was the goblin town, because every D&D adventure's got to have goblins in it. And this is the one where I think you guys like captured a goblin and it escorted you to the village, but then it like I forget, this was so long ago. Set off an alarm maybe?
No. Like this whole thing is escaping my memory. Who remembers
I know.
This
Who
one where they
remembers?
got caught up in the forest.
Say again?
They got like when this entire green like tarp got flung to the forest.
Oh yes,
Yes.
this is that. Yeah.
That is that one, yes. Yeah, you try to like explain that because it's a fun thing to do. Like the whole thing is set up where it's like this emergency escape, like trebuchet the whole village is attached to.
But we left a bunch of them in there. I think is what we ended up doing.
Oh yeah, and then when it splattered, it killed a bunch. But then I think I had like a undead dinosaur there or something that you all had to fight. Like it like flattened a dinosaur or something, and there was still like a fight because I think you guys hadn't fought like much of this battle. So I think I ended up making a little bit of a boss fight there. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And then you met Vorn, which you acquired that big frickin' shield guardian, which giving you an actual shield guardian is insane. So I gave it all kinds of rules and restrictions, basically. I took away its multi-attack. I think I took away a couple of its abilities. And then I said that it can't actually kill anything, or even, I think, target anything that was alive. So I like...
Right.
And by then, you guys had a ton of NPCs. You had the Tabaxi, you had the...
Moment we
Azaka.
had like six hangers on.
Yeah. That's a bummer about this adventure is the fact there's no towns for you to like go interact with people, so all the people you interact with have to kind of like hang around you basically to fulfill all these various quests. All right, Ray, if you're not coming back, I gotta change our cameras around here. So I actually do have one for that. There we go. And then we did Camp Vengeance, which this is one where we had a weird case of the session went long. And then we had a power outage on my end, and then we had to like do a makeup session, which was like an hour and a half long. It was the only time we've done that. It was very weird.
It was like a year ago, wasn't it? I feel like.
I mean, all of this was at this point a year ago for sure.
Everything was a year ago.
Everything was a year
That's
ago.
true.
Remember a year ago?
I do remember
Man,
this
good
time.
times.
Yeah, right. Remember 2019? It was
Man,
great.
that was great. Good times. This was another area that, as written, is not terribly interesting, but I expanded on it.
Pretty well. There's quite a bit happened in this place.
There is quite a bit that happened in this place. So, yeah, Undril knew everybody here. You guys had some fun social stuff going on. You, like, rescued some prisoners that were here. Yeah, the commander was an asshole and kind of incompetent. In over his head. So there's a lot of fun social stuff. And then I basically assaulted this whole fort with a huge undead army. And I just thought that was a really fun... you guys actually made level 4 in between. I think when you arrived here, you level up to 4. And then I threw this big undead army at you. Including, this undead Ankylosaurus and a giant zombie T-Rex got summoned at one point.
Right.
1 ate me.
Yeah, 1 ate
Yeah.
you. That was good stuff.
This fight.
Are you planning to talk about the player quests here in a separate video, both for you, how you create the quests and when you chose? Oh, that's a good point. I should talk about the player quests. One thing I added at the beginning, and I think it really works out well, I think. Chris, I think you had this for Storm Kings. Is adding, so every player character has their own personal quest arc to go on. That ideally has multiple steps to it and everything. And at the end, my plan was always to reward that player with a fun, personal magic item that was tailored to them. And it worked out well where almost everybody's personal quest ended somewhere around Omu. I think Gillian's was a little bit earlier with the Typhoon Palace dungeon, and then Theron's with the the whole dwarf, the Wormheart Mine, and Hrakamar and all that. And the other 3 were all in Omu. But yeah, what'd you guys think about your personal quests?
Those are cool. Yeah.
I thought it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the personal tailored item.
Yeah, you probably got the coolest one too. Watery bagpipes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed the personal filling in more of the backstory of this person.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the player might not think about why in the hell is Theron friends with this guy.
It also helped from a motivation standpoint too, because a lot of these D&D adventures, it's just like implicit that like, well, you're going on this adventure together, even though you're all these crazy different people from different backgrounds and cultures and races and everything. Why are you all hanging out together? I don't know. We're just having fun together. And
it solves the problem of why are you doing this? Because you're heroes.
Because we want to play together. Yeah, but yeah, the personal quest can help with the backstory as well as help give motivation. In this case, it was like you're all going to Chult for your own reasons, and then it just happens to be this big catastrophic world-ending event happens that kind of draws you all in together. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed.
Really funny stuff that comes out of that kind of stuff too, because that's how you end up with whatever his name was, Axe Hand. What's his name?
Hugh Hackenstone?
Hackenstone, yeah. And like the jokes about him being so dirty and Monkey Brother and just shit like that.
Yeah.
Because it's tied into the character's backstory, because they kind of have to care because
they have to care, yeah. It's like that's it, because when you make a character, you have like your bond. But like, what does that really mean? Like, does that actually ever come into play? Yeah. But by having these personal quests, you get to actually formulate those bonds like organically and the things that you care about. Yeah,
it's really easy to forget about like what your background is and what your bond is and what your history is. But when it's clear and present, then it's like, oh yeah, okay, this is what my character is.
Yeah, for sure. So after, and Camp Vengeance was kind of ended up being a bit of a safe haven after this, so you guys could long rest there. Because that was one thing we talk about. What did you think about the long rest rules for the jungle? Because that was something that I was really worried about. Like, how do you do a hex crawl, and then how do you have these encounters every day, and then have the players just long rest and auto heal at the end of everything? Like, D&D is just not balanced this way. And my solution...
I think initially it was slightly frustrating, but I think it's the only solution you had. Yeah. So in terms of like raising the like using of resources tension, that's the only real way to do it. Because otherwise we literally would have jumped in the hut every night.
Rochelle's got that.
Okay, all right. That hut lasts for 8 hours for a reason. It's clearly intended to let people long rest, but yes, it makes for a much more exciting campaign, I suppose, if you can't. I felt useless a lot because as just a spellcaster, you're like, well, I have no spell slots.
Yeah.
And that part was frustrating. You gave me that pearl that gave me one back every day. That was helpful. But it was definitely frustrating at the beginning, but then like later on, then you have so many more spell slots. It's like
right. That's a power creep thing too.
Yeah,
like spellcasters like before 5 are really frustrating to play because it's like, okay, I've only got 3 of these a day.
Yeah.
When do I use these?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I enjoyed the time when we were attacked from inside the hut as Eric's like big middle finger to me and my hut.
It so was too.
I felt a little betrayed.
I had to sneak one in there. I will say, and it worked out pretty well. Once you got the hut, then you could long rest in the jungle whenever you wanted to. So it literally like unlocked that ability,
right.
And it worked out because at that point you were level 5, and we had done so many encounters that I was like, we're pretty much done with this whole hex crawl, like having to turn this into a dungeon thing. So yeah, I'm not sure if it was the best solution, but I do think it was a better solution than just letting you guys long rest all the time, and then we just blow through all of these random encounters like they're
almost
nothing every single time. Almost meaning, because it's like we can just reset at the end of everything. So what's the point? So I thought that was the best way of doing that. Mabala, Eric, do you regret giving George a true seeing item for a quest reward. It ended up being a bit of a pain in some areas of the Tomb of the Nine Gods for sure. I think that they normally get one after the King of Feathers fight anyway. I thought that was, I don't know, it was a similar item. I had to work around it, and I thought it was kind of fun in some areas, like, and Raymond had fun with it too, where you could like see the Stone Sisters like at the end, or you could see, the Slot was invisible. So it actually ended up, I tried to make it so it didn't destroy any of my plans, but just made some plans different, essentially, made different decisions happen. So I can't think of any specific things where I was like, oh shit, this ruins this particular room, but no, I don't. George always does great things with all the items I give him. That vine sword, holy shit.
That was a little game breaking, to be honest. Like that vine sword is...
The way, I guess Raymond's not here right now, but the way that he used that sword left and right.
Yeah, Raymond's outside the box thinking with it, or just the item itself, but
absolutely
whatever
fantastic.
it was, that pretty much just foods of work.
So many fun times. So after here, you went to Mabala, which was another area where there was nothing going on here. It's a plateau that's like 100 feet tall or something, and there's a hag up there who ate the village. And the whole point of this area is that if any player dies, which is complicated with the soulmonger going on that rips your soul out, she has the ability to bring them back to life as like a pseudo-zombie. But A, you have no way of knowing that. And B, you have to want to work with a hag, and then C, you have to do like a quest for her, which is to kill the Terra folk that I had. So I changed a lot of that basically, and just kind of turned it into an encounter with that one was fun because we had the Terra folk, which the Terra folk are awesome because they can fly, they do a ton of damage, and they're just glass cannons. And I had so much fun. You guys were like on the cliff. They would swoop in and grabbed like you and George, I think, and just flew off, and just it separated the party.
I guess to their nest. Yeah.
Took you to the nest. Yeah, I think George went down because he tried to attack some folks, and Gillian was like talking to the hag at that point, like, "Hey, can you heal our friend?" And I'm just like, just because I know what's gonna fucking happen. Yeah, that area. Do I have a map? I did have to get a map for that, didn't I? Oh, this was the actual.
Earlier asked when we as players thought we were going to die, and my first thought was the pirate fight. The pirate bar fight is literally when I thought we were going to TPK. I sure thought that.
That was a hard fight.
The Terra fight is when I thought Mannix on his own was going to die. And I was like, all right, you're fucked. The Terra are carrying you away.
I had 3 different maps for this area. One was this cliff map you're looking at now, which is when the Terra folk first attacked you and carried some of you off. And then one of them was the nest that ended up dropping some of you off in, which I don't even think Gillian saw this nest. Like, you guys were so split up for this whole thing. It was crazy. It was incredibly stressful as a DM, but I think can be very memorable. And then the last one where you all actually came together was that top of the plateau with you fight the night hag, and then that flesh golem pops out and just, I think, knocks out Mannix like instantly as soon as it popped out. And ended up being kind of a scary fight. There was that well with like the ooze. Yeah, there was with the ooze at the bottom that Theron like crawled down because there was like some loot down there. Yeah, there was some fun stuff going on over there.
Oh yeah.
Peanut.
I think I remember that one because it was like that flesh golem was like such a threat initially because it took me out. But then George just picked it up and dropped it in a well, and it was like, okay, well that
was great. Now. Yeah, just grappled him and then shoved him in there. Yeah. I allowed it. It was fun. And that's right. And it like died from the ooze, I think, the slime ooze. Mm-hmm. That was all level 4. And at this point, you guys are staying these low levels for a while. And I realize the jungle is all tier 1. Like, all of these encounters are basically scaled for tier 1. So I'm like, shit, I can't level you guys up very fast. Because we've got a lot of jungle to explore. And all of these areas in at least the north half of the jungle are basically low-level areas. So I ended up keeping you guys at like level 3, 4, and 5 for a long-ass time. And I look back at like Storm King's Thunder, and holy shit, we leveled up so quick in that campaign compared to this one.
Yeah.
So level 4 was, we did, we finished Camp Vengeance. We did Mabala, which took a couple of sessions. Then we did Dung Rung Lung, which I can actually show you this. This was the Grung area. I don't know at what point George got his grudge about the Grung. I swear it was just a random encounter with Grung. Somebody in the chat might remember how George actually got this thing.
This is this place with him. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to show you guys. I'm actually going to turn off the dynamic lighting so you can see how insane this maze is that surrounds this place. Which, how do you do it? Here's a question. How do you do a maze in a physical tabletop space? Because if you can explain a maze in a theater of the mind, it's pretty cool, and you can make checks and do all that. But if you just have a physical space to like explore, how do you do that?
You say like, okay, you have a left path and a right path, or and a north path, and then they go, and okay, now you have a north path and a east path. Like
so the way I did it, I'm gonna turn the let's see, what's the easiest way to do this? I'm gonna turn off dynamic lighting on this map.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, does that change it? All right, you might have to. It's a big map.
Yep.
So the way I did this map is I sectioned off areas of the maze, and then you guys made a certain amount of skill checks, and then depending on what you rolled, that's how many of these scripted encounters you would have. And I literally just put them in groups in the maze. So it never was a maze. It was like just a series of maze sections that I cut off. And then it's like, all right, now you're going to do the Grung fight. Now you're going to do the Assassin Vine fight. And then, maybe a couple more encounters here and there. I think you guys actually made it through here pretty quickly, though. But that's how I did the maze. So we ended up only using, like, a fourth of this whole map. But it's pretty crazy how they actually mapped it out. I don't know how
Go back to the ball for just a second. The chat remembered a bit that I forgot that was hilarious, where Gilead convinced one of the Terrafolk to kill himself.
What? I don't remember that.
I think it was a spell or something.
I think it's probably... Is it part of my College of Whispers thing at that point where it was? So. Hold on, I gotta look at my character sheet. It was like they were almost dead, and I think that was like the last hit was
for psychic things.
Yeah, was it? It was. I think it was Psychic Blades, probably, or.
But we were just goofing off. Basically, to say Gillian just told him to kill himself.
Yeah, and then he just dove off the cliff or something.
Yeah.
Nice. I forgot about that.
That's funny.
Reese, did you like the Wolverine skeleton, or did it make you less likely looking back to wild shape and engage as much as you wanted as a druid?
It was a good lesson that beasts have really low armor.
I might have balanced that a little too roughly, yeah.
So I think it really just depended on the situation and my mood at the time, whether I enjoyed that part of it. It definitely made me wild shape less. But
yeah.
And character-wise, because you went from being literally our tank for the first half of the game.
Yeah.
You were hardcore our tank. And then in the second half of the game, you became this much more hybrid support class sort of thing.
Right, and I got the skeleton, then fairly soon after I got the Obalaka in my head, which I guess sort of solved that issue completely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like those types of items because it has that air of danger around it.
You have to choose to do the risk reward kind of a thing.
Right. But sometimes it's like I don't want to have to mess with this.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to go crazy right now. I really don't.
This is in some situations I'd be thinking I think my character would leap in there and try to do some stuff, but man, if he goes crazy, it's gonna be so bad.
Yeah, from a metagaming standpoint, you're like, this is not a good decision.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot of metagaming in my head.
I did a similar concept with Kalessa's Blood Drinker Blade. I did the same, where it's like if she chooses to use it, it takes some of her life force to actually do the extra damage. So that was something I ended up liked. I liked having some kind of interesting choice there with some of the items. But yeah, all of your items, I believe, were custom. So I know, Chris, you said you like making monsters. I don't like making monsters, but I do like making magic items.
Yeah,
that's fun. But it's hard to balance them. Like it's hard to look at like.
sure.
There's a lot of examples the DM's got. But like, how do I know like which ones require attunement? How do I know like how many charges and all this? Like that can be very painful. So this was a fun situation where you guys had kind of a dungeon crawl and then a bit of a interesting like social stealth thing that ended up being a big fight. So this is one where I think Rochelle wasn't here for a session, and then when she came back, I think I captured Gillian at some point in the maze. Does this sound familiar? And had it to where she was like captured in there, to where you guys were motivated to have to go in there and rescue her, which is something I played around with. Like, okay, what if a player's not here and I can actually jack with their character?
Right.
It's kind of forced you guys to move
Which
ahead.
worked sometimes. Sometimes I was calling you on your bullshit.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it was like, and they're
Like,
gone.
we
you
need
don't know
that
why.
character. Yeah.
I'm like, wait, hold on now. I need my healer here.
Yeah, that did happen in that. In Omu specifically, because that fight was so hard for you guys. And like, well, we don't have this person. You
Right.
can't just suck them underwater. I was like, yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, that's exactly what I remember that one. Where it's like, and then a snake drags Gillian underwater. It's like, no.
You were like, can I go fucking get her? And I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I guess you can. He was not having that shit. But I was able to tie another location, which was the wreck of the Star Goddess, which was that airship that crashed into the jungle, by having one of the survivors of that thing here. So you rescued her, and that. So I basically, the jungle's got all these neat areas, but I kind of didn't leave it up to a whole lot of exploration to you guys. I really did put you on a path by just kind of, okay, and now this area will lead you to this area, and this area leads to this area. Even though I had all this stuff, all these maps already done for me, it still helped having this kind of path you all followed. At one point, when you left Mabala, I think you had the choice, finally, to go to any of those 3 locations that you saw from Mabala. It was literally the main point of going to that plateau was you could see, like, miles in a direction and figure out where you wanted to go. And I believe you chose to go to the Heart of Uptau, which was that floating rock. And hey, cat, get away from her. And I was a little worried about that because I was like, shit, I wanted you to actually go there at the end of this section because it was a great place to put a portal back to town.
Oh.
So I put Dung Lung Lung right there in the middle of it, in the swamps, because this is a good location for this area. Yeah, you're going to do this one on the way, and then I'm going to put a person in here that's going to lead you over to Wreck of the Star Goddess, which you did, and then from there, I don't know how, but I think maybe you guys decided, well, we're close to Orlunga, let's just do that one next. So you kind of went down there, and I still forced you guys to go around.
That's just clever DMing at that point. That's not. I don't feel bad about that. That's just. We didn't know we were being led. It's fine.
Yeah. It's all very organically done. Which that one was the big 4-armed gorilla fight with the elevation. Let's see, where's that one? This one. Which is a neat map.
Oh, right. Yes. Yes.
Actually, gorilla and zombies, yeah. Which were cool. They could run around and I think they grabbed people and threw people down on the floor, and just any kind you get a cool map with a neat environment,
right.
And
At
some monsters.
Point we had half our party was
on the bottom, yeah. And something I definitely did a lot of was not have the NPCs involved in a lot of these set piece fights. If it was a random encounter or something in the jungle, then they would be there. But especially in the early game, they were there to basically help you guys survive. Mm-hmm. But in these kind of situations, and in Dung Rung Lung, I had Vorn stay at the entrance, and you guys seem to do a pretty good job of we don't actually want the NPCs to come into the dungeon. We want to just handle this ourselves. We'll leave them out there, which I was pretty impressed by, because I thought you guys would try to constantly drag the NPCs in to help with all of these dungeons.
Not until later.
Yeah.
Even
then, I had to force Orvex on you. Basically, you guys were all like, "Nah, we got this shit," and I was like, "But he's a helpful old man."
Probably have a conversation about Orvex, because I have a distinct feeling that the way you saw Orvex and the way we saw Orvex was very different.
That's possible.
But yeah, the NPCs. I mean, sometimes they were useful, but other times it was like, other times, at least in my mind, it was a little bit of like, it's just another complication that we don't necessarily need in this fight.
For sure. And there were a lot of NPCs too. That was something that we went overboard at, and gradually we lost them along the way. You know, Undril would go do hers, and Azaka fulfilled her. And I tried to give the NPCs personal quests too. Like there were reasons they were with you guys, and they had an end game set piece thing to go do.
Season, I was genuinely bummed to see her go. So I was like, I want her like were-tiger form to be with us for a while.
It's very powerful, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the idea behind doing Theron's personal quest item, was the fact that for the longest time Azaka couldn't control her. Like I really wanted to paint it like she was, like a werewolf. But it was like a Hulk form. Like she got like pissed off and would transform into the were-tiger, and then it was dangerous for all of you.
And somebody had to roll like animal handling checks on her to get her under control.
I think for some reason Celeste ended up being in charge of that more often than not.
Right.
Just like.
Yeah, why was that?
I don't know. You finally found somebody who you understood on a primal level. Was somebody who was a literal were-tiger. That was somebody you could connect with. One area that I changed the hell out of was Oralunga, which in the book there's no map. It's a ziggurat that you climb these steps and do these weird ass things, these little like puzzle trial things, which are all like social and maybe a few checks. And the last one you have to do is swallow a live snake.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you get to meet the Oracle, and they just tell you they tell you where the Soulmonger is and all that shit. So I was like, all right, I'm not doing any of that because that's terrible.
I don't like it.
I don't like any of that.
Can you remove the dynamic on this one? I don't recognize it from where we're at.
Yeah, I can do that. This is a 2-mapper, and this one I ripped a map from a Roll20 map maker, Gabriel Picard, I believe, has these maps, and I threw together this map from that. Yeah, I can turn off the dynamic lighting. But this one I turned into a UNT dungeon because the UNT are such a thing in this campaign, but they don't come into play at all, basically, until Omu. And I wanted to tease what they were going through, and there was this big cutscene at the end of this dungeon where I believe the boss of this dungeon is like talking to Rosnisi, because I wanted to put that in play. And same reason I did the Stone Sisters. I had them like haunt you guys and did the Steel Predator thing, because a lot of that shit just didn't come into play until the very end of the campaign when you actually get to Omu and then into the tomb itself.
It's just good story structure. You gotta have your villains do things in the middle of the story.
You gots to. So, but anyway, I took this entire dungeon concept from, oh god, now I can't remember. It's from the Serpent's Isle from JVC Perry on the DM's Guild. And I think this dungeon is called Viper's Pit, maybe? That sounds familiar. But I literally took the actual dungeon design and used that almost completely as is. The one thing I changed is in his dungeon, I believe it's a Hydra on the second floor, and in my dungeon it's a Wyvern. But otherwise it's pretty much very, very similar. Oh, and he's got like demons, and I changed that with like snakes, and I think I had to tune it one way in a level or another. I think I had to make mine easier than what was written on there. So this is the second floor.
Is this the Naga one?
The Naga. Yes, this one. Yes, the Oracle at the end is the Naga. Yes.
Right. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and the boss fights got So this one
had this is where Manic decided to become wizard.
Yes, this is where Manic decided to become wizard.
Yeah.
Yep, you have a Wyvern that you guys fought down here. There was a big set piece, just cool fight that I had set up with a bunch of snake pits and basilisks and UNT. Really, your first time fighting them. There was a boss UNT here, which I took from one of the guys.
Threw a basilisk into a snake pit and turned all the snakes to stone. Or
yes,
like
this was the first time. I think this was the first time George really used that fucking sword to like fuck up my plans. Where he's like, I'm just gonna grab a basilisk and shove him into the snake pit. I was like, oh right, that's something you can do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with the Naga, though. This was the one where I gave you all a reward, and you could choose, but you only got a one-word clue about what the reward was going to be. And it was like, do you desire hope or wealth or power or longevity or strength. And all of those things was going to be a charm that gave you some kind of spell, or that had that spell-like effect, basically.
Right.
So that was
that was one of the items at the end of the game. I was bummed that I didn't use more because I only used I got one of clairvoyance. I think I only used it once.
That sounds familiar.
I used mine twice. Yeah.
Yeah, Kallis had freedom of movement. Yeah, Theron's was the funniest because I think he chose death, but and of course that gave him a charm of animate dead, and he's like, well, I hate the undead, so I'm never using this. I was like, well, that sucks.
I thought it'd be something to fight the dead.
Yeah, I probably should have changed it on the fly, given that your character would be morally opposed to using that. But I liked how this whole and at that point we hadn't really done a traditional dungeon crawl. Like, we'd done a whole bunch of jungle excursions. We've done a lot of set pieces, but in terms of like a room to room dungeon crawl, this was honestly like the first one. And this one is not in the book at all because I lifted this off of an adventure in the DM's Guild and replaced Orlonga with this, and I thought it worked pretty well.
Okay.
Who was the player's favorite NPC? Asks Lumpy.
Give us a list. I mean, Orvex is pretty funny. At the end, Orvex is pretty funny.
Orvex's arc was the best.
Orvex's arc had the best arc. Yeah. I had a lot to work with. I had a lot to work with.
Kindly old man to Revenge Wraith.
Right.
That was something I'd been talking about in Crafting Annihilation for several sessions. And we were all like, all right, when Orvex dies, I want to turn him into some kind of undead monstrosity that like hunts the players down. And we were all in favor of that. And then he would never die. It just, he was, I don't know. I expected more like AoE traps to just kill him at some point, and it never happened. And then I had to manufacture his demise. We had a Zaka, we had the Tabaxi, Vorn, technically an NPC, Undril, Zendala, I don't think ever
robot
formally joined your party, yeah. Roka, Hugh Hackenstone, Musharib, Artisan Dragonbait, Orvex, and then little Cody. I have them all in a subfolder. Chris literally played a small child throughout an Irish session. A very good sport about that.
That was pretty good. I liked Azaka. In terms of like in character, I think Manix probably liked Azaka the best. In terms of like usefulness and like being a member of the party.
Yeah. Of all the jungle guides, she's legitimately like just the straight shooter, very powerful, knows her shit, like kind of the obvious choice.
Yeah. But yeah.
The other
was Orvex funniest.
The other, let's see, you guys met the two like buffoons who had the dinosaur. You wisely didn't choose them. I think so. Yeah, you stole the map from them. Yeah.
We had a convoluted like heist plot where we stole our map.
Yes, you did, and you never went to that location. Yeah, Gillian like danced with somebody, and I think Kallis like pilfered the map. Yeah. Because that was, you basically stole their personal, like, you stole their personal quest, like, from them, essentially, which was, like, if you take us, then we'll take you to this location. And you never went to that location.
By the time we had forgotten about them.
Which there was no map or anything for that. It was literally just a, like, treasure site with, like, a trap there or something. Had you gone there, I probably would have expanded that, but we just didn't. Salida was one that I ended up using later, way later, because she's a secret UNT in disguise. In fact, you actually find her in Orlunga. And I was like, God, it'd be so fun to have her with you guys all the way to Omu and then betray you by having her, like, poison your food one night and then you end up captured, like, in the Fane and all this shit happens. But I was like, this is all going to be way too hard to pull off. And Manix's, like, primary job is, like, sniffing out people who lie and aren't saying what they want. So the odds of me keeping that up are just not going to happen. The one I didn't use at all is the other cool NPC that I just eliminated because I didn't know how to use her, is a woman who's another good guide like Azaka, and she has a Coatl in disguise, which are those giant, like, winged, feathery serpent things that are, like, good-natured, and that's just her secret, kind of like similar to Azaka's secret, but she's just this super powerful being, and I was like, I don't know how to use that character. So, and her personal quest is to go kill the hag on Mabala. I was like, well, I can just have that hag there be anyway, but So there was just a lot going. There were also 2 guides in Fort Belwarian, and I just skipped them because again Fort Belwarian was kind of fucked anyway. But there was like a druid with a little Vegapygmy friend, and then just like a warrior, who I think was one of the merchant prince's sons. But I ended up skipping them too. And at that point, like I had so many NPCs, we didn't need to use any of them. And that brings us to the end of level 5, which takes us to the heart of Ubtao. Why don't we take a 10-minute break though, because I need a drink before I keep talking some more, and we will resume our recap in a few moments. Break. Here we go.
What I miss?
I don't even know where we are right now. We're after the Naga Temple.
Are we coming back?
I think so.
Alright. Heather is going to bed for the evening. She has had a very little sleep, and we're trying to give her as much sleep as possible. So I'm trying to figure out if I have a...
She's up every time.
Yeah, let me see if I have a webcam option that this works for. Let's see. It would take a literal having a child to finally have her have to bug out early from D&D.
After a lot, but physical baby in the house.
Physical baby in the house. That is a good rap name right there. Physical baby in the house. Alright, this one might work. I gotta make some adjustments. I know you all can't see us yet. I'm working on it. Let's see. Second. Let's see. Somebody asked, for any of you, what was the first time you played the class? Did you enjoy it? Do you see any other player's character class and think, I want to play that sometime? So did you like your class, or did you think the grass was greener?
I thought my class was much better in the city than he was in the jungle. And that's why I started taking wizards levels.
Yeah, it was a neat idea for class. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was kind of the idea as a fish out of water scenario where it's like he's an urban guy in the jungle. That was the general idea.
Yeah.
But when we actually got in the jungle, I realized like, oh, what that actually means is I literally don't have a use for half these skills.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell if this panther is lying to me or not.
This panther always lies.
That's where I come in.
That's right. So I really like the Inquisitive class, but I think it's better in an urban campaign or a place where you're going to be doing a lot of talking to people.
Yeah. All right. I think
I'm a little biased because I played Rogue before and I enjoyed it. And I mean, I don't know if it counts if I did one level of Rogue from Fighter. So I don't know how you consider multi-classing in that answer.
You were mostly fighter, though. You only took one rogue, right?
Yeah, I did. But I just did enough to get like sneak attack in there. Yes.
Yeah, I envied the rogues and having like 18 different moves like on their turn. That was fun. This is my second time to play D&D. So yes, it was the first time I was a bard, and it was fun. I like being a support character.
Yeah, you played two like complex classes back to back too. Sorcerer into bard, like two hard spellcasters.
Yeah. Next time I should use a more melee
champion fighter.
Yeah. Swing and hit.
Yeah, I really like Moon Druid. It's a lot of fun.
Druids used to be very cool in 5e. Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to enjoy it that much, but it was the Druid spells that I didn't think I was going to enjoy, and I didn't really use that many of the spells until the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
At least combat-wise.
There's a lot of like healing after the fight and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I also didn't think I'd be the main tank.
I was a surprise.
Yeah.
I think to touch on what Chris also said, it kind of depends on how your campaign runs too. Like we had I felt like we really enjoyed the combat and doing combat scenarios. And so of course in that instance you want someone who has a huge role in combat and positioning and having different skills. Whereas maybe in another, I don't know, different sort of campaign, you might have more fun as a bard inquisitor, for example.
Yeah, that's very true. And this one had a very set, like, you are in the jungle, there's danger, it's not a lot of, like, you know, there's not a city you can go do things in. It's just, you know, aside from Port Nine Zero, which I tried to, you know, have a lot of things to do in there, but once you exit out of there, it was just all jungle. And another reason, and this segues nicely, once you guys made it to level 5, and especially once Gillian specifically took Leoman's tiny hut to do rests in, I was like, this is good timing because I'm basically done with having to do this whole jungle crawl thing. At this point, you're basically going to make it from point to point to point from here on out with like a little bit of like...
That's the reason why we can just skip all this stuff.
Yeah, which it just worked out with the timing-wise on that one. This is when I can get rid of the dynamic lighting on as well. Because this one has a cool like side view of the whole thing on one side. So this is the Heart of Oop. After all that, you finally got to the Heart of Ooptau. This one had the Lich in Disguise, which, so, you know, up till then, you guys had fucked up so many social encounters, which I was kind of used to because in Princes, obviously with Kalinar, it was a very hard line between just with some, but then until that one Lich, and then that one you like pledged yourself to, which was amazing. And then, ironically, this is another case of a Lich that you all kind of played nice with. So I guess I just need to use Liches more often. I don't know.
I guess.
I guess.
I was about to fight him or something.
Yeah.
All right.
I was surprised it didn't turn into a fight. Yeah, she's got a bunch of zombie like servants, and she saved you guys from the Steel Predator. I'd introduced the Steel Predator, which is a totally thing that normally the Stone Sisters, they just do the nightmare haunting occasionally to you, and that's all. And I expanded on that, made it more of a like horror movie you guys were all going through, and then wanted to create this interesting like Terminator subplot where they were literally created this creature just to hunt you all. I don't know if I don't think I used it as much as I could have to better effect. It was kind of like this. Yeah. I mean, and it was a case where you guys were never meant to like fight this thing completely, and this was a good situation here where like Vorn, I think, had to sacrifice themselves to like, and then you guys were teleported up here and rescued, and it ended up being a situation where like, because normally we don't play D&D where you guys think of retreating as even an option, let alone like we have to retreat. And this was a situation where like you guys have to retreat. You cannot win this fight. Like even though it's one thing, like it is so much stronger than all of you. It's like literally like a CR 15 or something, and you guys are like level 5.
Eric, here's an idea for one of your roundtables. Retreat. Because there's a bit in Storm Kings. There was a bit where you guys were supposed to retreat, and you refused.
I did.
And I had to fucking strong arm you into retreating.
It was like a persuasion check or something. Yeah. I was like, no, my character is brave, and he would stay behind. And I was like, like, what are you going to do? Fucking murder me? I think we eventually rolled like contested charisma checks or something to get my character to leave. Like that. Yeah.
But that, especially with our group, our core group here, it seems to be a thing where none of us really think about retreating as an option.
Yeah.
And so we're just like, well, we're in a fight now. We do it until we're dead.
Yeah, so I had to make it very obvious here. I started off with a very powerful attack, and then pretty early on had the option of like this lady can teleport you up to this floating rock, and then it can't get to you. So, but yeah, this ended up being just a social encounter. You got your eyeball. You had lost the eye. I don't remember when you. Well, actually, I can look it up. When did you lose your eye? Because you had a. Oh, it was the flesh golem. I think you lost it to in Mabala. It punched you in the face and literally like punched your eye out.
Yep.
And then you were without an eye for the longest time, and then literally you got a replacement eye, which was a magic eye that was low-jacked by her, and I think you identified that, and you still put it in your head, which I loved. Yeah, I love it when the player plays along. That's fantastic. So that was a lot of fun, and that was a fun opportunity just to use like a little social, and this was meant to be more of a social encounter than an actual combat fight. But more importantly, I put a portal here where you guys could conveniently town portal back to Port Nine Zaro, because again, I don't want to go through the motion of having you guys trek through the jungle, roll a whole bunch of random encounters. And at this point, I had thought we would still go to Nangalore. But at some point, when you finished looking up the Company Little Banner stuff, which again, that was all me putting together stuff it was mentioned in the book, but I put together all the journal entries and the the fact that you can learn about them along the way and all that. And then you could learn where Nangalore was, and you're like, well, I guess we don't need to go there. And then I was like, oh yeah, I guess you don't need to go there. And at that point, we'd done so much already. I was like, gosh, I had expected you all to go here for the longest time, and we can actually show this map. I've never even... So I never prepped this or anything, because we never went here, but this is a full-on area that's basically like a Medusa lair. But it can be a social encounter with a Medusa, which could be very cool. It's like a Hanging Gardens thing. But we determined that, well, you kind of already know the location, so maybe we can actually just skip it. And we did. I think it worked out pretty well, because at that point, you get to the heart, you're level 5. Like, let's just get out of the jungle, and let's go back to... Yeah, let's go back to Port...
Dynamic lighting on that one.
Yeah, I need to turn that one. Like I said, I haven't done anything here.
Wow.
I don't think I've even loaded this map.
Oh, okay.
That's a really cool map.
Whole area.
It's a whole area. Yeah, it's a set map, and it's the only one that made me really bummed, because it's a very cool map and kind of a cool dungeon. That's like all one big overland area, and essentially it's a Medusa lair at the end. And she, like, I think she's a little messed up in the head, and you have to, like, talk to her, but be very careful about, you know, how you engage her, or you can just fight her and all that stuff. And the idea was you had to go to this location, the two major dungeons, which was this one and Orlunga, which I made into a dungeon, and then that would be like you've completed the jungle. But in this case, after we'd done all that stuff on the left side of the screen of the map, I was like, fuck it, I think they've done enough in the jungle. They can just teleport back.
We knew where Omu was. So
yeah, you knew where Omu was. You can just complete all this. Yeah, you've got access to the ship, so I just allowed all that. The one interesting thing you guys still did when you went back to the city is you still wanted to complete Azaka's personal quest, which was to go to Firefinger, which was that very unique tower dungeon full of terrafolk that ended up being a really cool area. And you guys sucked so bad at athletics checks in terms of climbing up and down these like cliff sides and ladders. This is interesting to want to look at.
That's when we took more damage from the
yes,
falls than...
I think exactly. This is where you like you like one shot my boss. Like you guys actually like fought the thing so well, but then the actual dungeon itself was just like a freaking mountain to try and climb up and down. A really cool map design though, the way it's shown here with the actual, at least from the DM's point of view, I can see the whole map in a side view, so it's easy for me to describe. And then I like the way they chunk up the tower in terms of like here's just individual cave areas you can climb up and down. Right. And this was designed to be one of the first dungeons you do. It's very close to Port Nyanzaru, and obviously Azaka gives you that quest right off the bat, and you took her. But you ended up doing all those other things, and all those crumbs led you on this huge path. You just never ended up doing it, and then you went back, teleported to town, and you're like, well, let's go back and do this one thing, and then we'll escape. So it's kind of an odd little coda, and I scaled it up because, as written, it's more of like a level 3 dungeon, and you guys were 5. So I think I just added a bunch of more terrafolk and stuff, which those guys are a lot of fun. I liked the terrafolk quite a bit. They are very... very powerful and glass cannony, which is fun. And that finally ended our jungle excursion, basically. And I meant to use the Steel Predator here to at least, like, oh, you guys are back in the jungle. The Steel Predator is still chasing you. And then, but I just ended up not being able to do anything. And then you guys got in the water and went around... I'll load this one because it's faster. And we did some pirate adventures, which I thought was a really fun... ultimately very side quest, but I did a fun thing early on where I actually teased the pirates in like the second session, if you recall, whenever you guys, before you even got to town.
Like 3 pirate princes or whatever, right?
Yeah, there's 3 pirates that have like are running things, and they've got their own little, I don't know, organization now, basically. And they've got a whole base they operate out of, and you got a quest in Port Nyanzaru to go take care of the pirates and all that. So I definitely teased that this was a big thing before you ever got on the ship. And the idea was that by the time you got back to the ship, that now would be the time you have to start tackling that stuff. And conveniently, as you can see on the map, you literally basically pass by the pirate headquarters on your way down to Shilkube and where the other stuff is. So it just worked out really well the way the locations were spread out, that I was like, all right, I know they're going to do the jungle for this half, and then they're going to go do the pirate stuff. And I had you be level 5 for all of that, because the way it's balanced is it literally says in the book, okay, the jungle is designed for levels like 1 through 6, and then Omu's designed for like 7 through 9. But the problem is, the jungle is everything in this fucking game.
Yeah. It's like half the game.
Over half the game. Yeah, it's like, okay, when they get to Omu, they need to be this level. But until then, I don't know how the fuck to... Which is different from Prince of the Apocalypse, which was like, this dungeon is for level 6. This dungeon is for level 7. This dungeon is for level 8. Like, it was very particular about how each of them were balanced. And this one was not that at all. It was just like, the jungle is levels 1 through 6. And I was like, well, fuck me. So that was my attempt at trying to like, okay, well, you know, level 5 will be all of the pirate stuff, and then level 6 will be all of the Hrakamar and Wormheart Mine stuff, and then level 7 will be to get into Omu. You know, I really tried to plan that out because of the milestone stuff, which I think worked out pretty well. But we did a bunch of, you know, fights in the water. I got a lot of mileage out of the like pirate ship maps that I had. What'd you guys think about the whole pirate thing, including the actual pirate base? Which I guess I can switch to that.
I liked it. In hindsight, now,
that's what this is hindsight.
It literally because it has nothing to do with anything, you know, in terms of like the overarching story. But when we were in it, it seemed very important.
Yeah,
it seemed like we should be doing this. And yeah, that pirate base, literally, I legit thought we were all gonna die at one point.
That was just one big fight. Yeah.
It was, yeah, like just a bar, right? It was like
it was a big tavern that had basically a whole pirate crew in there. I think the problem is one of the first mates was like a gladiator stat block, which is one of those that's very difficult because they just look like a dude, and you can describe it like, well, this is a big dude, and then it turns out like, oh no, they're like a CR5, like triple attack, and have all these like abilities. Like they are actually just wrecking you guys.
I remember this one because we put a lot of effort into like the first half, like stealthing around.
Yes.
And then at the end of it, we just walked into the bar. We just literally just opened the doors and went in.
Yep.
Like idiots.
I forget how this was supposed to go down, but you all, and I expected that to go down that way, but yeah, it was just one big fight at the end, basically. I think it ended up, a few of them retreated. Yeah, it ended up in this fight outside. I must have had a different map with the actual, I'm trying to find.
You did. You had a bar map.
Okay, that was an actual inside map.
Yep.
I wonder if that wasn't.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, there, in the lower left corner. Okay, it's an insert. Yeah, there's the giant bar fight. That was the one that was really painful, where multiple people were going down, and there was just a lot of people there. It was cool just to have like a big pirate bar fight there, but yeah, one of the guys was just a gladiator, I think. And then after that was the Typhoon Palace, which was a dungeon that I took from the Turtle package, which is the DM's Guild by Wizards of the Coast. It added the Turtle race, which of course George Raymond used, and it added this dungeon and a whole Turtle town. I forgot what it's called. I ended up not using the Turtle City at all, but this dungeon seemed pretty good, and when I read its backstory, after I knew what who Rochelle was going to play, I was like, I can tie this into her character's backstory and have this be just a whole nother dungeon that we do. Because again, I'm thinking, God, we've got this really good, fun mega dungeon at the end, but until then, we actually don't have a whole lot of dungeon crawls, and I do like the occasional dungeon crawl. So Orlunga was one, and this one was the other of the two major dungeons that I added. Let's see, do I have to turn dynamic lighting off this one, or did I do it already?
Not yet.
Okay.
I really like this dungeon. I remember liking this one. This one feeling like a real dungeon.
And none of these I built from scratch. These were all, like I said, the one of them was the DM's Guild, Serpent's Isle, I believe, and then this one was the Typhoon. It's called Dangwaru, the Typhoon Palace, and it is found in the Turtle package. And this map and everything is from there. And I pretty much ran it as is. I might have like adjusted a few enemies here and there. Obviously, I tailored it to be Gillian's personal quest, with her brother being the one that was like imprisoned. An evil cleric, which that boss fight actually didn't end up being that hard. This smashy trap right here in the middle where the bloodstains are, that was the one that was gonna like auto kill you.
Oh,
if you guys fuck that up, because that one just smashes you and does like a bazillion damage.
We all either teleported or just got through it somehow.
Yeah, I think some of you teleported. At that point, George did have his cape because he got that off the pirates. One of the pirate captains. But if you wear the right necklace, you basically become immune to a lot of the bad things in this dungeon.
I don't know if I ever... There was some cursed necklace or cursed statue that I picked up in this place. I don't know if I ever used that.
You know, we all forgot about it. Every once in a while, the chat would remind us that, like, hey, you can throw the statue, or, you know, if you were knocked down and somebody's knocking through the rifle, what about the statue? And I would see it and I'd be like, yeah, that's true. I forgot what even the rules about that statue.
Right.
But, yeah, you wore the necklace and then you stole the statue, and then we just never... I guess too many sessions went by. But I thought it was a pretty fun little...
Gazebo. Remember this one?
Yeah, the gazebo with the roper. Damn, the ropers are cool. Yeah, they had the chewels at the end. There's a lot going on in this dungeon. And it took us 3 sessions to get through it. So, pretty good size. And this is where Gillian completed her personal arc. Defeated that evil cleric. The only thing I disappointed is I made the boss too easy here. George and Kless just ran up on it and just fucking murdered the hell out of it.
Oh, right.
I should have put more chewels or something in there. It needed a little something more. But a little anticlimactic. After that, we had Heather's quest that she ran. Unfortunately, she's not here to talk about that, but I thought that was fun to get a chance.
Oh, we were all turned into...
We were like little creek. Yeah, Bryce has showed up. Yeah, I think Reese and Michelle were on vacation or something, and we wanted to run something, so she got to run a little guest DM spot, which was cool. Well, because it used our characters, I counted that as a session, too, and not just a separate one-shot.
Another one-off.
And we were on the boat, so it made sense that we could just kind of get warped into something.
Right.
Then you all made level 6, and we went back around to the water, and you all got attacked by a dragon in your ship.
Oh, the dragon, that's right.
A dragon burned that ship to the ground. I meant to have the captain pop up at some point, but never did. So maybe that captain's canonically dead, I guess. Poor gnome captain.
She's out there.
Perhaps. Plotting revenge. Wormheart Mine was a really fun dungeon. I liked the idea behind this one a lot with the mine cart and the dragon at the bottom, kobolds everywhere. It's an odd one to do at level 6 because kobolds don't pose any kind of threat to you all. So the way to do that is you set up like traps everywhere and have them be maybe slightly more powerful kobolds, I guess. This one is a very cool map. Whoops. Where's the... Too many maps on my page.
I remember this one because the actual like racetrack to get down to the dragon felt more dangerous than the dragon.
That was a fun thing, yeah. There's all kind of like traps going everywhere. It's like a little Disneyland ride. By the way, I'm going to ask all of you to recount your favorite moments at the end of this recap, so be thinking about that as we're going through all these things. But I thought this was a really cool design dungeon. And again, and a lot of these maps are so good. Like everything just looks amazing. There's a lot going on here. The kobolds would attack you. You guys would just hit on the mine carts and roll your asses down. This is the one where I think George got hit by a mine cart by Hugh and got really pissed at him. The only part that I screwed up is I didn't run the dragon fight very well. I totally acknowledge that. You guys just kicked this dragon's ass up and down the field. You set up that wall of water. Colette jumped on its back, just hacked to death at it. I wasn't really smart about playing the dragon, so you guys destroyed it. But otherwise, I kind of oddly like the Typhoon Palace. I enjoyed the dungeon, and the actual final like boss encounter was a bit easy and anticlimactic. Right. And this one connects to the other dungeon. There's just a giant tunnel that goes to the Forge, which is a far different dungeon. This was like part 2, I guess, because Theron kind of got roped into both the... And this is why I wanted you to play a dwarf, Reese, because there was all this dwarf shit going on here.
Trying to play mediator between Hackenstone and
Yeah, and then the albino dwarf guy. His people got, this forge was taken over by the fire newts. And this one was just a shit ton of fire newts. And you guys started off real stealthy and careful and went through and really tried to have a plan together. And then all of a sudden, just the shit hit the fan and you decided to get a fight started. And, I mean, I don't know what the smart way to do this, but if you start a battle, like, it is going to start a battle. Like, there's a lot of dudes in here. And I think at some point we went through so much combat, like 2 full sessions of just fighting these guys or something, to where at the end I think we ended up with a social check where they like surrendered because we were all just like kind of done with it at that point.
Yeah, we were just killing newts left and right. It's like, all right, when is this gonna end?
Yeah,
there's just so many newts.
There's so many newts. Yeah, it literally took like 2 giant sessions. Oh, 67, you liked the dragon fight. That's good.
It made us feel good because we handled that dragon like nobody's business.
That's true. Jordan makes a good point. The first dragon encounter was a good example of party needing to retreat, and you all did. Partly because I don't think I had a map for that, and it was almost more of a cinematic thing happening, where it's like this dragon was just dive bombing you all, and the ship was being destroyed. I feel like it would have been different had I had a like map set up with you tokens and a dragon on there, and I was like, all right, roll for initiative. This dragon's gonna come in and destroy things. But instead, it was never. I never painted it like a combat encounter. I painted it like this is a catastrophic environmental hazard that you all need to escape.
It genuinely felt like, okay, this dragon's like 100 feet away until he's breathing fire on us.
Yeah.
Like, so I was like, there's not much we could have done.
Mm-hmm. And that was the idea, is I wanted to tease that dragon. It's supposed to be the backstory is that dragon like just fucking sinks everything around that area. So that's true. Gillian got to use the stealing souls ability here. That was fun. Unfortunately, I think at the same point you guys like started a fight and it didn't. Like, I was expecting you all to do a little more subterfuge and scouting, but
we killed one person that way, where we're like, she
yeah,
had a come into a tunnel and we just killed him.
I think you tried to scout a little bit and you decided, okay, this is the part where we want to make our stand and fight this fight.
I think our mistake was just picking a bad spot to start a fight because we were it was like a stables. There was like some chicken things.
It was this western.
Room.
Are you looking at the map?
Yeah.
It was this western area where there was a whole bunch of those big ostrich dinosaur things, like a stables. Yeah, and you guys were like, all right, here's where we're gonna fight.
Yeah, we thought we were gonna be able to take that room out separate, like isolated. And it was
like, nope, this is actually connected to the main room in here, and you guys just fucking woke up the hornet's nest. So it ended up being a big fight, and honestly, I was totally okay with it being a social thing by the end because we had fought, like I said, 2 full sessions of battles. So it's like this is probably enough here.
Right, we had done so much scouting and stealth, and
we're just done.
Couldn't figure out how to get through or around these
That's
guys.
Right.
So.
We just couldn't figure it out. You're right.
So I don't know. Yeah.
At some point, we were all just like, let's just kill them all.
Yeah.
Because.
And that's kind of what your party is too. You're not totally like necessarily the big subterfuge party either. I had one thing set up. Had you guys wanted to break into the vault, I had a whole puzzle set up for this door in the upper right, and if you mess it up, then this whole bridge retracts, so it kind of leaves you stranded over here with the lava. But you guys actually ended up clearing the whole place out and then going back to the dwarves and then basically, saying we didn't loot anything or touch anything, so they just rewarded you with the treasure instead of you looting it, which was that gauntlet that shoots out the fire.
Right. Yes. Didn't George have a really cool maneuver in this one too with the thorn whip? I feel like there was something about like dragging chickens into the lava.
Probably. I know at one point I think I grabbed Celeste and like shoved her in the lava.
Oh, that's right.
Or grappled her in, and then I
mounted on one of the chickens.
Oh, and the chicken just ran into the lava. Yeah, because it
and
like
George had to like fish her out with his thorn whip.
That was a funny thing. She usually climbs on top of creatures. That was her thing, and the creature was like, "All right, I'm gonna jump in the lava." And then George had to fish her out with the vine sword. That's true, but I thought the surrender worked pretty well. They did always get a 2 hard encounter immediately after leveling, didn't they? That was funny how I did that. Every level up. That happens with the Frost Giant fight, for sure. So, after this, so it worked out where level 6 was basically all of these extended dungeon crawling in the mines and stuff. And there was that one time where there was like random encounters in the tunnels between them and all that. And then you guys hit level 7 and got to Omu. But there was a little bit of complication there. You met the Frost Giants first, who were hunting Artis, because I was like, oh shit, I gotta like reintroduce Artis as a thing. And then you guys did something totally unexpected. You fucking wanted to work with the Frost Giants. I was stunned. I was stunned by that. And what was going to happen initially is the Steel Predator was going to fight you. I was going to finally find you at Omu. It was going to be the appropriate like boss fight to the jungle, because when you get to Omu, there's no more jungle. And then Artis was going to show, and you guys were going to get your asses kicked. And then Artis was going to show up with Dragon Bait, and then with those two, you were going to beat back the Steel Predator, and then that was going to be Artis's introduction. Well, you guys showed up to this fucking Steel Predator fight with like 3 Frost Giants and some Winter Wolves. So I was like, well, fuck. So I literally had Artis.
They were like after the Giants or something.
Yeah, like let's go find Artis together. I was like, oh shit. So I had Artis waiting in the bushes in case something weird happened, and of course you guys killed that Steel Predator real easy with the Frost Giants. And then Artis, it was a really weird, or I wasn't sure even what to do, and I think you saw Artis, and then you talked to him, and then you did this weird thing where it's like, all right, Artis, you run that way, Frost Giants, you go that way, and then we'll go back to Artis, and...
We like camped with them, and then we took off in the middle of the night. I think we had this whole like convoluted like we're gonna set up camp, and then we're gonna like try to stealthily sneak away.
God, there was so much. Yeah, you were trying to use your like illusion magic.
For how to keep the wolves from smelling us.
Oh my gosh,
it was a whole thing.
It was a whole thing. Yeah, trying to get away from these Frost Giants.
Perfect.
You were able to get to Artis and meet him, and then by the time you got back to Omu, however, then I decided to run an encounter with the Frost Giants. As an actual fight, and that ended up being quite painful for you all because Frost Giants are pretty strong. And I definitely I overtuned Artis to make sure he does not use the Ring of Winter basically ever, because otherwise it just trivializes a lot of shit, because it's a very powerful artifact.
Yeah. Didn't he get buried under rubble in that fight?
Yeah.
Anyway, I feel like he got like taken.
If you notice, a lot of these fights, I tend to like somehow do things to the NPCs. Yeah.
Every NPC is gone.
It depends. Like, there's a very funny moment if you go back to the King of Feathers fight where, like, Artis and Dragonbait aren't doing anything, and then all of a sudden, you guys start getting your asses kicked really bad, and then Dragonbait, like, steps up and starts, like, hacking at it and, like, tanking some hits, and that's me just, like, live balancing this encounter.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, shit, I gotta have him go in there and, like, mix it up a little bit. But that was the guardhouse fight, so we timed it where you guys made level 7, got to Omu, and then we made it to Omu, so we were done with the jungle. And I thought Omu was a really neat location. This is a neat map where you get like an overland area. I tried to organize it by basically explaining as early as I could that you need to go to all these shrines and get these things. I think through Orvex maybe told you that when you rescued Orvex from the walled compound. By the way,
we were already kind of doing that though.
Yeah, I forgot how I did that. Did I? Maybe I had something at the beginning that was a note about... I know I highlighted them on the map, and it was almost like just hey, these are points of interest, on your map. Yeah. You should probably go here. But I think for sure once you rescued Orvex, he was like, hey, we found the entrance to the dungeon, but you need to get all these cubes. And meanwhile, the Red Wizards are here, and they're already getting cubes. Which is something from the book, which is a neat thing. The Red Wizards are in Omu. They've got their own agenda. They want the Soulmonger. And it's written in the book that they have a certain amount of cubes, so the players don't ever have to do all of the shrines. Which I think is nice, because you do kind of get fatigued from that. And it lets the DM pick and choose, be like, all right, which ones do I not want to run and have already been done by the Red Wizards? And there were some, definitely, that I was like, okay, there's some really insightful Crafting Annihilation episodes where we went through and like analyzed, okay, which ones do I want to run and which ones do I definitely want to skip? And it worked out geographically wise, where you guys could go straight north, do the King of Feathers fight with the amphitheater, and then go back around to the Royal Palace and end up in the Fane, so you didn't do any of the ones on the lower right side. I wasn't interested in doing a bunch of random encounters in here. I think I did a bunch of scripted stuff, so like you had a UNT fight. The only random encounters I had was you had the option to search buildings, and there was a kind of a D100, I think, list. And you could just roll to see what you, and some of it was treasure, and a few of them were random encounters, and you ended up getting mostly bad results. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Mad Monkey missed. Yeah, that was awesome. And then she flew and startled that giant Frog-Gemoth boss fight. That was greatness. Yeah, they actually saved the Grung Prince and then dragged him all the way up through north. Yeah, George met a mentor, I believe. I replaced an old Tabaxi with an old turtle. The King of Feathers fight ended up being a really fun boss fight. I overtuned that one. Finally, at this point, I was like, all right, this boss fight, this guy sucks as written. He's just a T-Rex who can, like, teleport, I think. So I'm going to give him, like, legendary resistance and legendary actions and add a bunch of minions and make this a really marquee boss fight. And it felt a lot better with that. And that was basically the culmination of George's personal quest, too. So I thought that worked out pretty fun. I added the bazaar because you guys hadn't been able to shop in a long ass time at this point.
Oh, yeah, no one spent their money.
Yeah, you got all this money, and I tried to describe it as well as I could. I kind of pictured like a Walking Dead situation where it's like somebody had an outpost in a really dangerous area, and you guys took to it so perfectly. I was really nervous about, okay, are they gonna want to search this place or kill these people, or how's it going on? You guys were instantly like, all right, we buy all the things. And I was like, yes. I felt very fulfilled. Yeah. We will buy all your things. The rope of typing up people and all the whatever stupid typos I made. That was good. There was a Red Wizard encounter where they told you, which this is also in the book, that the final cube that you need is in the possession of Rosnisi with the Yuan-Ti. And this was the part where I was really conflicted on how to run the entire Fane of the Night Serpent, and I'm still not sure I did it in a satisfactory way. Ideally, what I would have loved to do if I was writing a story and not playing D&D would be that the players were captured at some point and they wake up in the Fane of the Night Serpent and they have to go through all the motions of being like enslaved, and they have to break out and get their equipment back. You know, it's that part of the video game, like JRPG story, basically. I just thought that was a really cool way to do it. And then the more I thought about it after several sessions of Crafting Annihilation, I was like, it's such a shitty thing to do to players, first of all, to just take away that agency. And it just never felt like it never felt very satisfying to do to you guys. But I'm not sure the way I did it was very satisfying either, which was to basically tell you very pointedly, like, hey, this person can get you inside, and then this person can tell you that. I kind of really put you guys on a I guess I can switch to that map, on a railroad to the Fane, which we had been in Omu for 7 sessions at that point, doing all these shrines and stuff. I guess I should switch to the shrine map first, and we can talk about that. Also, my youngest is waking up, and I need to feed her, so let's go to the...
She like just eats.
Yeah, that's pretty much what she does. Whenever we first started, so maybe about 2 hours. 2 hours ago. That's not too bad. Yeah, she's pretty much every.
Didn't she just eat? Look at the clock. Oh wait, it's been 3 hours.
Yeah, it's like that's about right. Let's see. I'm gonna restore this map. This will actually be a good map to turn off the dynamic lighting because all 9 shrines are on the same map.
Oh.
I can find it. There we go. 9 shrines. Yeah, I forgot. So before we went to the Fane of the Night Serpent, we actually did, I think, most of the shrines. Yeah, all of them, because after the Fane, we just went straight to the tomb area. So you guys can look at all these shrines and talk about which ones you liked, which ones worked out the best. I will turn off dynamic lighting, and I'll be back in a second with a baby in my arms. Turn off dynamic lighting. All right, there you go. Now you can look at it.
Better you than Chris.
Remember which ones of these were what. So
I don't remember what this is. Was I here for this part?
We had to go to each of these shrines as we were walking through the city. So the bottom middle one, oh god, What was? I don't recognize a lot of these.
Well, I don't think we did all of them.
No, we didn't.
This is what I don't recognize.
Okay, the very middle one, I remember that one. That was the maze, where we split off into different groups and we were all like wandering around finding secret doors.
And we did very badly.
We did very badly.
Yeah.
If you look near the top, if you look near the top left, maybe go down a little bit, you'll see that pond where Gillian flew.
Yep, that's that one. Gillian flew into the pond.
That was going to be like my favorite moment because that's
pretty good.
Really funny. It was just like set up so perfectly that I thought I could fly, and then we had that.
The alligators. Oh, I think Baron, you summoned some alligators, didn't you?
I try to befriend alligators. I think.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
I don't.
And that. I guess the actual temple here. I remember this temple. This is the one where it was like planks that Celeste was jumping along the side, and then it closed, and there was gas. I don't remember how we got out of that one. I honestly don't remember a lot of these. The middle top one looks familiar. I'm sure we did this one, but I don't remember what it was.
I remember the middle top one. There was there was something down in there, and like
we all looked down.
I remember coming around the side. I don't remember what it was though.
I think he's deleted a lot of the tokens, which is the unfortunate part. That's how we would identify what was in these places. But yeah, that top middle one was definitely, there was like 2 levels. You could go down into it.
Top left looks like a spike trap.
That was the one where Celeste was like hopping along the edges. There was like pieces of wood sticking out along the edge.
Yeah, like the door closed on her.
And the door closed on her. Yeah. If there's any others that we did, because I don't. Some of these, the ones that don't have any tokens on them, like the other 2 bottom ones, and then the left and right middle ones, without any tokens on them, I have no idea what they are.
Yeah.
We didn't do them. Definitely didn't do the top right one because I don't remember a bunch of crossbows pointed at center.
I see some grung in the bottom middle.
Yeah, that. I'm trying to remember what that situation was. Was that the Grung Prince? No, the Grung Prince bit was.
I mean, there's a chance he moved tokens around to get him out of the way.
That's possible, yeah.
So this might not even be the right token area.
Yeah. No, you know what? The Grung Prince thing was one of these temples, because I remember we had to exchange the Grung Prince for the cube. And that's why the only reason we got out of it without killing all the Grung was because Raven wasn't there. We said that we convinced him that it was better for the Grung to live without their prized possession than to all die. Until the epilogue. Now they're all dead. Some of the chat questions while we're waiting for Eric.
That was the riveting discussion he expected us to have.
That's right. I don't know how long you expect us to put this on, but
trying to just. Okay, so we just stared at the maps and tried to remember what they were. We didn't have a very good conversation.
Wasn't that good, to be honest with you.
There was a thing down there that was fighting something.
Yeah, so. Come on. There's your Bubba. There we go. We did the Froghemoth one, which is the upper left. That was the big.
Which is the memorable one.
That was the memorable one, yeah. Big fight. The one to the right of that was the one where you had to step on. You had to go down into the pit and step on. The whole pit was a pressure plate, and these 4 clay gladiators walked in. You had to fight them down there. That one, a lot of horror stories about players trying to cheese that one, but you guys played it straight up, so no worries there. The one to the right of that we did not do. The one below that, Wongo Shrine, we did not do. The middle one was the one with the floor. You had to follow a floor pattern. And then this one, you did the floor pattern so well, / jumped over it, which of course everybody does in these games, because why not? And then you guys got so fucked up on this maze, which is so funny looking at it from my point of view, because obviously I can see the maze like this. And you guys get so fucking lost and end up hitting all these dead ends, and all the dead ends are like traps that hit you. And just like, it was just comical from my end. Like, everybody split up and immediately just hit all of the traps. It was incredible. Just absolutely the worst job of doing that. At one point you got so turned around, I swear to God, one of you stepped on the same trap somebody else did. You're like, wait, are you over here? And just walked into the... I was like, holy crap. I did not expect that. The one to the left of that, we did not do. The lower left one, okay, this was an example of something that just did not work at all. This was the one you guys got so confused on, and I had to just straight up reveal how this puzzle worked. But this was the one where there was a bunch of statues of animal heads, and there was a puzzle inscription that you had to figure out to cast a shadow. I don't even remember how this fucking worked, because it confused all of us. But it opened up this little side path you can see here. This room, and this room had a cipher to it that had like, okay, here are the right letters you need, but the letters didn't match exactly with the right number of spaces, so you guys... It was horribly confusing the entire way. It was just one big puzzle.
I remember this one because we all stayed on after the stream.
Yes.
And we quizzed you on what the fucking answer was.
Yeah,
and
that's how I knew. I was like, oh man, this is really frustrating like everybody. This did not work at all.
What was the answer with the cipher? It was something that we just never figured out.
You needed to put... once you open that second room, which you just determined... on accident. The goal is you had to like...
Yeah, we were casting darkness or something.
Yeah, I forget what the actual solution was, but you guys kind of stumbled on it, and I kind of gave you a big clue about light or something. But then once you discovered the cipher, you were supposed to plug in the letters to it, but you guys couldn't... You're like, oh, it doesn't match it up, so that's not it. And we just kept on...
Oh.
Yeah, it just did not work. Good night, 67. So that one was a bummer. Out of all the shrines, that was the only one that really fell completely flat, though. The ones that we did do, I think, worked pretty well, other than that one. And then the ones we didn't do, I'm glad that we skipped, because I thought they were kind of similar to that, where they had just a bunch of bullshit, weird things going on that I didn't particularly like. And don't ask me, because I do not remember. But there were some that we didn't end up doing. And then the Grung Shrine ended up being completely different, because we went there, and I had the UNT attacking it actively. And you guys first ran into that one UNT fight, which was a really painful one because I rolled really well, and you guys were actually ambushed. It was almost like a Wild West encounter with like the buildings, and they were shooting at you through the windows.
That's the one where I wouldn't let Gillian not be in the fight.
Yes.
That was that
I was going to have Gillian get like shoved under the water and just not have her in the fight, and you were like, I'm going to go save her. We need her in this fight. I was like, oh, okay. But then you guys were able to arrive at this place, which was being attacked by the UNT, and then you did some kind of invisibility thing where you were able to sneak up and just fucking demolish them left and right.
Right.
Very effectively. And then you actually were able to socialize with the Grung and just kind of basically... I think Raymond wasn't here. It must have been the case.
That was that one, yeah.
Because he would have never let that fly. And then...
That's the only way.
That's the only way.
Yeah.
He's momentarily incapacitated. But I think they just turned over their cube or something where it was just ended up being a social encounter. But you still had a fight here, so I thought it was still pretty satisfying. But and I thought it was fun having it more dynamic, where like if the UNT are in it and they actively know what you're doing, then surely they would be more... They wouldn't just sit in their dungeon. So I wanted to be them a little more active. They did fight you early on in the which was the ambush in the hut. So I was like, fuck, I'm never gonna be able to ambush them with this stupid hut. I did know I'm not gonna be able to pull that that move off anymore though, but I got it off once.
That's the one time.
It's a one time, yeah.
Sure.
I got my one like snake ambush, and then once you know that, you're like, all right, now we're looking for snakes all the time. So that was level 7. Level 8 was the Fane of the Night Serpent, which, again, as I mentioned before we got into the shrines, I'm not sure if I ran this as satisfying as I wanted to, and I had a lot of back and forth on the best way to get everything done in here, because this is a very large dungeon. You'll see in a second when I turn off the dynamic lighting. It's a very large dungeon, but at this point I knew we were about to enter a very, very large dungeon. And if you just room-to-room fight this one, it is a giant slog. And just a ton of dudes, and I had nightmares of Hrakhamar with the fire newts, except this one was going to be even crazier than that. So I was like, I did not want a repeat of that. So my goal was to do everything I could to encourage a social stealth encounter that I could. And in doing that, I fear I may have railroaded you all way too much. But I really wanted to drive home the fact that this need not be a traditional room-to-room
I don't
dungeon
remember being
encounter.
railroaded in this one. I remember being lost in this one. I do remember at one point, like when we got into the dungeon, at one point, like I had volunteered to like be part of a ritual or something, and we had like hours to kill. And I do remember at that point being like, I don't know what to fucking do. Like, what do we do here? Like walk around and talk to people, and we weren't really doing that. So it was sort of like we weren't really playing it, I think, the way you intended us to play it.
And again, how much do I want to like try and push? Like, do I want to have people show up and talk to you, or you guys didn't seem to be. You guys explored a little bit, I guess. George like went off and.
Exploring.
Yeah, you guys split the party a little bit. George killed a guy at some point, and then.
Yeah.
And then convinced a snake to go somewhere else.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say it's my favorite. This was a good one, and I don't know if I broke the cape, but remember I asked Zendala to describe the storeroom.
Oh, that's
snake
right.
was.
That's right. That's how you teleported there, yeah.
Use that mental imagery to teleport and to take her with me.
Right.
Thus starting the George Zendala alliance.
That's right.
That's
You guys were
right.
off by yourself
The
for a
George
while.
Zendala alliance started here. Manic's phantasmal force use on himself. So how much of this we had talked about? I know at some point you were actually thinking about playing a UNT. Was it ever?
I wanted to in the very beginning.
Yeah, the very beginning, and I was like, and I was having misgivings about that because I was like, God, if you play a UNT from the beginning, how do I run all this UNT stuff? We probably could have done it that way, but this ended up opening a whole different story idea where I was like, shit, it's one of those random things that's part of the campaign book. It's like, hey, and there's this whole ritual that takes place where you can transform somebody into a UNT, and that's something that usually I scoff at, like, well, nobody's gonna do that. And this was a situation where, like, God, I bet Mannix might fucking do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I jumped at the idea. That was a fun idea. You and I had a conversation though about this.
Yeah.
To where like it was a fine line to walk. Where like I wasn't going to be cool if like literal people were being slaughtered, like sacrificed.
Yeah, we had to talk about this.
Like,
yeah.
now there's like a moral problem with it. Where like he's not going to watch innocent people get killed.
Right.
Maybe if he doesn't know where the blood's coming from, he'll be okay.
Yeah, we did talk about that. Talk with your players. Make sure everybody understands what's going on. Yeah, it was fun. It ended up creating a complicated situation, though. Timing-wise, I didn't do a good job of splitting the party because you had that whole ritual to take care of. And then the other party just decided to explore a whole different area, which was cool because we got to see more of this. If you guys noticed, you guys hadn't seen like half this dungeon. Like there were whole rooms. I don't think you went in and
like the whole southern section.
The whole southern section.
With, really.
Yeah. And instead, the rest of the party. Actually, I think Celeste was with you for some reason. She just stood with you because she's I guess bodyguard. Then I had Heather play as Zendala. Who by the way, I just put here because, I tried to use these NPCs off and on, and she was a fun one where it's like, well, she's so powerful of a wizard where she can just reappear throughout the adventure as this kind of wild card. And I decided, since she hadn't been able to recontact you guys in Omu, that she had been captured by the UNT, and she was one of the prisoners in here, which, as written, there are a bunch of prisoners that the UNT can have, but Zendala was not meant to be one of them. But I thought that was fun. And then you guys split the party, and half of you went on this whole southern journey and attacked these guys, went on the boat, and had this big Hydra battle. And then this whole time, I think I talked to you about it, Chris. I was like, Chris isn't here for any of this. Like, and neither neither Mannix nor Kaless are with the party, and they've got this whole part of the dungeon they're going through. And I was like, well, I guess I can have Heather play Zendala, which is an easy solution, but, like, what do I do with Chris during this whole section? And we ultimately decided you're going to play the little boy. And
Who's now becomes a man.
It becomes a man. You're a very good sport for it, because, like, I just didn't know what to do. Like, you guys had split the party so much at that point.
I don't know. That was pretty fun, to be honest. That was entertaining.
Yeah. I appreciate you doing that, because I was like, I don't even know how to do this. The Hydra was not really meant to be a big boss fight. It was just a Hydra, and you guys kind of kicked its butt pretty well. And again, split party. I didn't want to run things too hard at that point. You guys had a battle up in front of Rosnisi, which was nice because Rosnisi was not meant to be a fight. It was meant to be a social encounter, and impressively, you guys did actually socialize with Rosnisi. Which I was impressed by, because you can totally fight him if you want. He's kind of a boss fight, I guess. There was an interesting dynamic here between him and Fenthaza, which was the first priest that you met. I couldn't tell if you guys were trying to play it right, or if you guys just didn't want to engage with it, though, in terms of just like, well, we got what we need, let's just get the fuck out of here. Like, we're not going to even talk, like, we're not going to kill Fenthaza, we're not going to do any of this shit. We're not going to do what she wanted us to do, we're not going to do what he wanted us to do, we're just going to get out of here now that we have the cube. Yeah.
We didn't necessarily stop. We didn't want to fuck with it. It's that we didn't want to, like, side with either one. It was we were sort of like just trying to play both sides and we get what we wanted.
Yeah.
But we weren't gonna, like, lead a revolt like what's her name wanted. We weren't gonna, like, assassinate anyone like he wanted. So we were just like, roll with it until we get the thing we came here for.
Yeah. So I think it worked out really well. Just parts of this dungeon were very awkward and maybe not quite as fully realized as I was hoping in terms of getting engaged with the politics of it all, and I am glad it did not turn into a big fight. I will say that. So in terms of you guys seeing enough of the dungeon, doing the UNT ritual, and talking to both the biggest NPCs, I thought that all worked well. And then we got out of there within 5.
I remember you almost. DMs can't actually ask a player to do this, but I seem to remember you almost asking us not to do that.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
Like, there was a couple points where you could start a big fight. And you were just like,
I did everything I could.
Sure.
Yeah. Between all the NPCs and all the things I did everything I could to basically not have you guys, like, knock down the door of this place and attack for sure. Yeah. You were under a geas from Rosnisi, though, to retrieve an artifact from the tomb, but with that you had more cubes. Then you just had to go meet with the Red Wizards outside of the Tomb of Annihilation. Where did I put that map? Level... Oh, I think it's in level 1. This will be fun. You guys can see all the tomb maps. We're finally in the tomb. We're not quite. You're still level 8. And then you did the Red Wizard battle, which was outside, which was a nice. So the way I flavored was, the Steel Predator was the boss of the jungle, and essentially then you got to go into Omu. Well, this whole big Red Wizard fight was like the boss of Omu. And then by defeating them, now you got to go into the Tomb of the Nine Gods. So I had these big set pieces between major areas. Turn off the dynamic lighting. Boom. Level 1. So this whole little bit of lower half is where we had that giant Red Wizard fight. Between Zagmira, which was Kalessa's personal quest, and then a bunch of like unique NPCs that she had, where there was a really hard fight. And then at some point, when this obelisk gets destroyed, a giant demon pops out and just starts wrecking everybody's shit, which is not allied to anybody. So it starts fighting everybody and turns into just a giant clusterfuck. And eventually Zagmira actually escapes, which I was eventually going to use her again in the dungeon, but just never quite found the right time. Because I wanted her to like have a final reprieve of like she shows up with just a few people and you've like cleared the way for her and she has the classic like, oh, you've gotten me this far to the soulmonger, now I'm going to do it, and just never quite found the time or the energy to actually implement that. But that was something I always played at with the back of my mind. The fact that she had escaped. Although I still counted that as Celeste completing her quest. And then you guys got in, and then you leveled up to 9, which was good timing because the Tomb of the Nine Gods is designed for level 9 through 11, I guess. I wasn't sure where to level you guys up at, as you can tell by the fact that you leveled up right at the end with level 11 awkwardly. So, what did you think of this mega dungeon? We've done mega dungeons before. If you count the
with princes.
Yeah, the elemental temple is technically all one giant dungeon, but this might be something else entirely.
I really liked it. To illustrate that, we kind of explored a lot of stuff that we probably didn't need to, but we just kind of wanted to get the stuff that was in the dungeon. So the mix of like puzzles in there and traps and combat stuff was, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, there's this was fun from a DM standpoint because I have all the things set up and prepped, but the dungeon is, I mean, technically it's got a level 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's designed pretty non-linearly. Like, you can split off and go to different rooms at one point, and in fact, as you can see, the giant staircases here, you can go all the way down to level 4 if you want to, like right off the bat. There's nothing really.
Right.
There's
I
no.
the impression that we needed the keys though,
so
we're kind of locked into like going level to level.
Right, which ended up again. I turned an open area into a more linear area, but the bummer is I didn't want you guys to make it all the way down to the 6th level, have that giant skeleton gate in front of you, and be like, oh shit, we missed 2 keys somewhere in the dungeon. Or I have a weird thing where it's like, oh, we missed 1 key, and here it is on the Stone Sister. That was convenient, you know. So I basically had you learn pretty early on. I don't remember how. It was from Withers, or it was just from you got a quest update or something, that once you start getting these skeleton keys, you realize you need all these keys for some reason. But there was one for every level, so yeah. But as you said, you ended.
My favorite moment from this level was the fountain. That fountain was.
Oh
god,
hilarious. That fountain was amazing. Yeah, that's such a funny thing where it's like it doesn't look like anything on paper, but then once you guys interacted with it, it was just hysterical. Because the first time somebody drank from it, it's a D4, I believe, and one of them is a good thing, and the other 3 are very bad. And the first time we did it, I think I hid the roll, and somebody in the chat when we were doing Crafting Annihilation was like, just do this anyway, because it's funny. Where if somebody, you have another player, you know, an NPC drink it, and a good thing happens, and then afterwards you have the players drink it, and the bad thing happens. And I still rolled legitimately. You can go back and roll this, watch the stream. I rolled whatever the healing one was. I think it adds temporary hit points first, and then all of you drank it, and then rolled all the bad ones. And that one was hilarious because they're so bad.
Acid at some point. At some point, it became just peer pressure to drink a cup of acid.
Yeah.
Like, why are we doing this?
So much acid. Yeah. Otherwise, you did all the rooms pretty much well. You did the Obolaka's room perfectly. You did not do the Moa's room. You were supposed to like lie, speak no truth to the doomed child, which was the flame skull.
Like, I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Raymond. I feel like you understood that. You just chose not to play by those rules. I got a distinct impression that you were just, as George, you were just like, I'm just gonna do this my way.
No, he said something that was truthful. He called it ugly or something.
Is that what it was?
I think so. He was saying it was ugly or something like that. Like that was the truth, but I mean,
it's technically the truth. Yeah.
Right. It just wasn't the right way to solve it.
Right. I just remember thinking like this is George's solution to this. This isn't like a mistake. This is a choice.
You can certainly brute force it. Yeah. This is where Mannix got his clock punched. Was up in Wongo's tomb. That mummy pops out of the sarcophagus.
Yep.
This is an example where I changed one of the traps. This is the one where you have to climb inside of the treasure chests and you have to get hurt by something. It's like a Saw fucking death trap thing. And one person has to like turn the key on the inside. As written, one of the traps just does cold damage. One of them rusts all of your shit, so it just destroys it. And the third one does an insane amount of damage, and if that kills you, then you just die. I was like, this is the most bullshit fucking thing. So I changed them all to just be like the cold trap. Those are just different kinds of damage. I was like, it just seemed like just so pointlessly cruel. I don't know. Yeah. I had a problem with that one as written. The fan was fun. I like the earth elemental, like trying to step there and do it. I like that whole situation. Level 1 is good. Level 2. This one. This was funny because you guys didn't interact with that wine room at all. But I still had to run things because I think you had like a summoned earth elemental inside.
Trying for dynamic lighting.
Yeah.
I do remember the wine room though. I remember Theron's elemental got left in that room while we all left.
Yep. Start turning all these off.
You had a good time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I had to just like montage that shit. I was like, all right, well, here's kind of what happens.
It was also the slot level, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. The Neng Neng's tomb is where the slot is, which that ended up being a obviously hilarious thing that I had no idea was going to be a thing, just like the Grung. Not only did I have no idea it was going to be a thing, but then in crafting I was like, okay, I can make this a thing. It's going to be a recurring villain. It's going to pop up at some point. And then very quickly I realized, oh, George is not going to let me actually use this thing in my back pocket. He is going to demand that we immediately encounter this thing in every single room. So I quickly realized, like, oh, I gotta like wrap this slot thing up.
I think it was like literally like he showed up and then George just took off. He just ran after him. There was gonna be no retreat here.
It was during the Withers fight, I believe. George pieced out of that room and walked into the staircase and threw coins in the air and like summoned the slide in the middle of the other fight.
Hey, in his defense, there was a berserk Theron in a tiny enclosed room.
Is that what it was? Yeah. And you were just like, I'm not going anywhere near that.
Why walk in there and add to the carnage?
But you still started another fight in the middle of a fight that the party was already having. That is like a freaking taboo.
He needed something to do.
In his defense, he was bored.
And I will remind everyone that George has a flaw. It is, I remember every insult I've received and nurse a silent resentment toward anyone who's ever wronged me.
Not very silent, George.
It's not silent resentment. And it's also against their entire race of people. Terribly deadly.
It's kind of silent. He vocalizes it a lot, but
yeah, this whole thing ended up getting overshadowed by how much you guys loved, and the slot encounter was funny the first time, and the fact that it escaped. And then I did something funny with Mannix replacing his trickster god with another one because he quickly realized like, oh, this greedy one's gonna be bad news. And then George tried to destroy it, and then I had the invisible slot grab the trickster god magic item and then run off, and you were all like, oh shit. And this is an example of me just having a lot of fun with that. Where I was like, I'm just gonna fucking fuck with you guys. Unfortunately, that was an example where I couldn't do a whole lot of fun stuff because George could see invisibility within a certain sight radius. So there was only so much that slot was gonna be able to do, even though it can turn invisible at will, and it can like climb, or no, it could climb walls because of Neng Nengs, but it had regeneration. It had like a bunch of spells. Like, what a cool ass creature to have as like a solo monster that can fuck with you. But I didn't end up using.
It was so annoying. Like, I would get so close. That
one fight was insane too. You got so close to taking it down. You were just one-on-one winning this thing. And then I think it got like one of its like fears off or something that finally made you like run away. And then it grabbed your sword. That's what it did. It took your sword.
That was the final insult. George couldn't let that go.
Yeah, at that point I knew. I was like, oh, there's no way I'm gonna have this creature last. All right. And then I was like trying to figure out like in Crafting Annihilation, like what do I fucking do with the slot now that's running around with George's sword. There's a weird thing in this level where you got the goat staff, where that ring goes into a mirror tomb that's exactly like this one, but it gets reset every 24 hours. And that's a good example of, like, you know, reading a bunch of Reddit threads and things where nobody know, like, this room has a potential to really fuck things up if the players go in here and try to do anything, because the whole, it's like it's a mirror dimension tomb, except everything resets in a day. And I was like, I don't know how to even think about running this. So the way I flavored it is, instead, it's going to be a portal to the ethereal realm. If you go walk around, you'll be in the ethereal realm. And then if you end up exploring too much, it would be like, I was going to attack you with like phase spiders or the Stone Sisters or something to basically keep you out of that. I was initially going to block it off completely and ignore that whole thing, because it's a nightmare. But then it's in the goddamn Acerat clue, where it's like the ring is a something. I forget what the clue is, but it's written in there. I was like, well, fuck, if I got to do something. So I ended up leaving it in there. And thankfully, you guys did not really engage with it at all. In fact, you were so afraid of it, you used a mage hand to grab that staff and then never even walked down there. So I was like, good man, let's not fuck around with that, because that whole area just was a nightmare. You guys saw the secret staircase here. We didn't actually explore it much, which was interesting. This staircase, which you'll see on all these maps, really connects all the way down to level 5.
Oh yeah.
But
I think I remember not wanting to miss the clues.
Yeah, you said that too, and you guys stuck to the main staircase and ran everything pretty much straight up. But it's interesting you guys never went back to the staircase or tried to explore it.
Maybe I've forgotten about it.
Well, what you did do...
I can't stay awake anymore. I gotta go.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
I don't have an outside baby, but I have an inside baby, so
Yes.
I still have the...
Get some rest.
If anyone was wondering, that's why I was gone for like 4 weeks. I had very severe morning sickness. So
it is the year of babies.
Okay. Yeah, it's too many of them. All right.
Give us your favorite moment before you get off, though.
Oh, yeah.
Give us your favorite moment.
Your favorite moment from the campaign.
Well, yeah, so it's really hard because my memory is really awful. So like the first year, I just don't remember details. But yeah, like I was saying, I thought that just like the Gillian thinking she could fly thing was just set up so perfectly, because it was like right before we got to that like lake swamp thing.
Where literally you single-handedly triggered that giant like boss fight. That was pretty great.
that was a really good. That was a really good part. There are a lot of good. I enjoy all the like riddles and puzzles and stuff like towards the end. There were a lot of good ones on those. I liked the sarcophagus thing with that was changing colors. That whole part. That whole
that was a fun one.
Yeah. But just like the whole riddles, like during that whole dungeon, those were a lot of fun.
Nice.
So
cool.
Yeah. Puzzles. All right. Yeah.
All right.
Have a good night. I will try to.
Good.
We'll try to wrap things up here. We are getting close to the end, and then we will announce what's coming. Let me see if we're dropping like flies. I don't know if I have another camera for just this few of us.
The pregnant lady. The pregnant ladies.
Yeah.
They're dropping like flies.
I do not have a camera placement for this many. What's the closest one that I've got? None of these are very good. Crap. All right. Well, let me switch you to level 3, and you can talk about. Or you are on level 3. Are you not? Are you looking at it? Yes.
3 was the beholder fight.
3 was the beholder fight in all the rooms. So you can look at that map and discuss that while I figure out our cameras for a second.
This is where we resolved the slot stuff, because I remember we chased him down like past this water room, and this is where he ended up being possessed by a.
So you're about to find a tomb, and then or I say we, but George took off in the other direction.
Right. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. This one basically started with that. Yeah, which was crazy.
We left him over here on the bottom right somewhere. Yeah, I think the top bit was is that the room that we couldn't all go in? It was like symbols on the floor that Kless was stepping on, I believe.
Yes, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. Remember that middle middle left section being the scary boar head?
Yeah, that was like the last thing you did. I randomly put a key there too, just to make you guys do that room. But
All right. Yeah. Remember, we had a lot of trouble or a lot of experimentation involved in that bottom left room with the pit and the statue and the chests that teleported things in and out of the pit.
you guys did that one pretty well, I thought. With basically
There's a
timing
lot
everything
of
out.
playing around with the yeah.
And I allowed it at that point. If you guys have a good strategy, like I'm not gonna make you roll.
Right.
Let's see. Sorry, it's taking me a second to fix all these cameras up.
Can't remember what the water thing was. I think that there was like a riddle to get through the water wall, I believe.
That one I changed a lot. That one, the solution is to walk through with the tridents only, because I guess tridents in water. But I was dissatisfied with the fact that it's purely trial and error.
Oh, right. So whatever we figured out, which was like one of each of the weapons or something like that, like an order.
It was the order, yeah, and I thought that was actually a more clever idea. Like you guys actually was like, well, this is the order in which they're at. Maybe this is the solution. And I thought as the DM, like that is the solution. That's way better. That's a better idea.
Sure, yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. And then I remember us having a lot of trouble or a lot of spending all that time on that top right section with the twisting tunnel that like where the tunnel turned and a different section of this tunnel was there. You kept getting people trapped in the closed off section.
Yes, holy crap. And what sucks is now that you can see the map, you can see that you didn't have to go in there at all.
We didn't have to do that at all.
Yep,
yeah.
It doesn't actually go anywhere. It doesn't lead anywhere. Yeah, but you did find one of the keys you need, which is funny because you automatically need and that thing. There we go. In addition to needing the skeleton key for each level, you also, to get to the beholder on this level, which gives you the skeleton key, you have to have 10 crystal eye keys. It's just all kinds of bullshit with the keys.
Yeah.
So you guys do have to actually have all those.
Yep, and then we had the beholder fight, where I think the big reckoning on that one is just that George didn't get to long rest afterwards. It turned into a statue.
That was a fun boss fight. I like that beholder fight a lot. It's just a weird monster to run where he's got like 3 attacks and then a bunch of legendary actions with more attacks. So he actually has the good action economy to keep up with the players. But you don't get to choose which ones he does. He rolls them randomly each time. And so what I did is I ended up having you guys roll all the attacks, and then that was pretty much who I would generally target. So it was a way of balancing it out where it didn't necessarily, it would just shoot somebody, but it wasn't necessarily like the right ray for them. Occasionally I would have it be, okay, it's going to target this person, but I tried to have fun with that. It does feel very video game with the keys, I admit. You need these keys to progress.
Countdown, like
Yeah.
8 out of 10.
Well, the weird thing is, if you don't put the skeleton key in the Beholder Den, like, what's the point of getting all these keys and going to the Beholder Den and fighting it? I guess technically it's full of treasure, but you could technically skip it, so I decided to put the skeleton key there to make it more worth it. But yeah, that was a weird fight because so much of what the Beholder does isn't actually damage. It's just a whole bunch of, like, you know, paralyze and sleep and petrify. So you guys don't actually take a lot of damage in that fight. And then all of a sudden I start getting those petrifications off and it starts getting a little interesting. But on the other hand, this Beholder is permanently invisible due to a wish spell by a Serac. And that makes it obviously very challenging. Now at some point, this is where it turned a almost impossible fight into a doable one because George can see with his bandana. So that helped make that fight possible. And then of course casting Fairy Fire and doing a bunch of these combinations worked out pretty well. But even with those advantages, I thought this was a very fun boss fight with some interesting consequences. And yeah, one of those was George couldn't long rest because he was a statue throughout the night, which was funny. Level 4. We're almost getting through the end. I knew this would take a while. This one had which is what Rochelle was just saying, had my favorite tomb dungeon, probably my favorite single room in the dungeon, just because I got to have a lot of fun really expanding it, which was Unk's tomb, which had the acid pit, the minotaur skeletons, the interdimensional maze, the keys, and the way it's written is you roll a D100 when you get in the maze, and then you just randomly end up with one of these keys. And then whatever key you end up, you can just put in there, and then you get some kind of random reward. And I changed all that to turn into a poem and make it so you guys could try to like decide, kind of similar to what I did with the Oralunga Oracle, where I was like, I'm going to give you guys a clue as to what your reward is going to be. And at some point, you guys were confused initially, and then at some point, I believe it was Rochelle who actually figured out, hey, maybe this is the rewards we're going to get, and we can try to choose tactically.
I was wrong track. I was thinking like we had to collect them all or something. Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought that was a fun way of changing this room up, and it was so much fun with freaking Theron, like just grabbing all these Minotaur skeletons, and just dumping them in the acid pit, and having half the party jump into the maze and do the survival check and all that. That was a lot of fun shit going on in there. God, the mirror ended up being an entire session on its own. You remember this fucking mirror with the rats? Yep. And there's a bunch of just random potential party NPCs. There's like a Minotaur, there's a champion, all these old people from Omu. And I ended up just replacing them with previous NPCs to try and make it more meaningful and impactful. Thank you, Greg. I enjoyed the Beholder's voice as well. And you guys ended up just fucking off with these NPCs that I put in there, like almost immediately. Like, all right, we don't want you guys in the party. Just get out of here. And I was like, oh, okay.
I feel like it was like a level thing personally. It's like you guys are just gonna die down here. Like you're not gonna.
I hadn't considered it. Like it was very. I feel like you guys metagamed that too much. I was like, you just rescued these people. You should have them like with you because it's really dangerous here.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, we're gonna dismiss them. And then at some point, it was my idea because we had that session where we ended the mirror, and then the next session we begun it with you guys shooing them away. Between sessions, that's when we talked about, hey, what if I made these NPCs sleeper agent clones of the Sohn Sisters and sprang them on the players at the end during the Sohn Sisters battle? And I loved that idea so much.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you guys just fucking like dismissed all like 90% of them. So I was like, oh, son of a bitch. Yeah. I still ended up pulling it off because I just had them come later.
Boy, had them come back.
Yeah. Why Discord? I was losing frame rates. Okay, there we go. But yeah, that was interesting. And you randomly decided to have Ishmael with you, but obviously their shapeshifting wasn't terribly helpful in this situation. Not a whole lot of social encounters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. We had this.
I was like we have to have a certain type of humanoid go into this room, like a puzzle or something.
Yeah.
But no, it never came up.
Want some more? No. Okay. Yeah, the mirror ended up taking a whole session, and then this annihilation maze with a Bodax popping out. You were.
Oh yeah.
That took a whole session. That's where you lost your arm, which was hilarious. Pretty much as designed.
That was pretty hilarious.
I was so careful about whenever you guys were like, I'm just going to go into this tunnel then. I'm like, how do you go into this tunnel?
If I remember correctly, it was essentially Raymond picked up on your vocal clues
I think he
before
did.
I did.
Yeah.
And so he was like warning me.
Because I was really nervous about like, God, if he just...
I think he said something to me at some point where like, you only want to put one arm at a time, right? I'm like, what? Okay, sure.
And you know, if Raymond's being cautious, like, you really gotta be fucking cautious. Mr. Teleports inside the Soulmonger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, that one made me nervous, because, like, what a fucking way to go, is you just like, well, I'm gonna crawl through this portal, or you crawl through this open hole, and I was like, you're annihilated. I don't know.
That brings up a good question, though. Like, at what point would you notice?
Right.
Would you notice when your fingers went into it?
Yeah.
Would it, like, hurt and you would pull back and be like, oh, my fingers are gone? I should not stick with it.
I would probably rule it that way, yeah, which was I was ruling it to be, like, how far do you go in at first? But I would,
Right, yeah,
I would have conveniently, because the
Yeah,
solution is the arm. I would have said like you stick one arm as you go in, and then immediately that arm is shorn off. Yeah, I don't think I really would have killed you, but it's a funny situation that ends up being the doors close, and then you see the severed arm, and then the Sphere of Annihilation is there. It's like this is a fucking Saw room right here. But it's funny, those two rooms took up entire sessions by themselves.
Right, Arno, I do believe I said I wanted to go ahead first.
Yeah.
I was like saying,
I'll
like,
stick my
I'm
head
just gonna
in.
climb through it. It's fine, whatever. And then Raymond was like, "You just want to put one arm in there, right? Just test it out."
Ease up there. Exactly. Yep. And then we had the Orvex Revenant fight, which was fun. Good. Yeah, as written, if somebody sits on the throne, they become berserk. They gain 50 temporary hit points and go berserk, which is a tricky thing to do in a party dynamic anyway. End up suddenly a party villain. And the weird thing is, you have to take them down. There is no cure. It's like, well, I think you have to do like Greater Restoration or something to cure them. But otherwise, you just have to take them down. Like it does. There's no repeat save on that.
You turn a player character against a player character. Yeah.
So we talked about this in crafting a bit about, well, what if Orvex used this moment to actually turn heel and like fight everybody? And there is a zombie T-Rex in this room, so I just combined my Orvex idea with the zombie T-Rex, and it ended up being a pretty big fight.
Yeah.
So I thought this level was pretty cool. And then level 5 is where I really trimmed things down. This is when we're starting to be like, hey, baby's coming. And we had to trim a whole bunch of stuff on this level. So this one, I kept the gears. I thought the gears were fun. It was a very Myst-like puzzle where you had to you got the control panel and you had to do some experimentation. I thought you guys did. I thought it did just the right amount of, like, how do we do this to, like, okay, here's what we have to do, and now we have to figure out how to execute it. You know, it's one of those puzzles that didn't wear its welcome, but was still enjoyable and did its job. Had an interesting thing where you guys were split up, so half of you had to fight the Shambling Mound at first, and then switch the gears back and do all that. As you can see, I sealed off the entire southern half of this room, as well as the fact that there's a whole water area with an aboleth outside. I think it's on the GM layers. You can actually see the aboleth. And if you notice the waterfall in the upper right, do you remember on level 1 where you had that big drop-off in the upper right corner with a mimic chest that George ended up seeing with the true sight and you just shot at and had a fight?
We like had it come across.
And I had and your owl like flew down and saw like water at the bottom. This is the bottom of that cliff. Wow. Yeah. The whole thing. So you can actually jump from level 1 to level 5, end up in this water 100 feet down with an aboleth in the water. So I very carefully did not encourage that by basically just saying it's right. You know, there's not much going on down here because it's like, how do you even fucking do that? But I sealed the one regret I have, although I guess I don't regret now because we ended up having we didn't have any extra time because little one came early. There is a fun scenario to the south here in the southwest. Where it's basically a classic. You pick up a treasure and this door opens and this giant, I do have a handout for that. This giant stone thing comes like rolling down onto you, and it's this kind of set piece moment. It's just got a really funny graphic, this one, and it just fucking crushes you basically. Wow. And it's just a funny like death trap situation. It's a long hallway as you can see. But here you can see where the secret staircase here, it actually attaches right here. All the way from level 2 to 5. But I sealed all that off because like I don't want you to end up going in the water. I don't want to end up fucking around with the aboleth at all. We can seal off the stone juggernaut. I put the actual treasure up in the sarcophagus at level 4, which was that ruby, the Eye of Zaltic.
Okay, yeah.
And then this lower right corner was just the a bunch of demons that spawned in there. And I changed the gear room, the armoires. These are all supposed to be fights. Almost all of them. I think one of them isn't. But I changed them all to be skill checks, again, because I was like, we don't need a bunch of fights right now.
Right. Just trying to get through it.
Yeah. You guys actually didn't end up doing the Mechanist Chain or the Armillary, which is fine. Armillary is kind of interesting, though. You can get some good rewards out of that. There's a demon that pops out of one of the spheres. And then level 6, I don't even know how much I need to recap at this point, because we just did all this stuff. Yeah, I mean... Well, I can show you this. Level 6 is a lot more going on, and I skipped all the stuff. There's a whole part of the dungeon that goes after the final boss fight. I was like, that's
really
dumb. Yeah, this whole right side. Yeah, so the portal, as you can see, actually leads to this right side, and there's a whole there's 3 or 4 more rooms. And I was like, I'm not fucking around with any of this.
Matter?
I don't even remember what
nothing?
happened. There's a whole puzzle here, yeah, with the way the things tell you to go to certain rooms. I just ignored all that.
Like, what would be the point of it?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like you already fought the big boss battle. Now you have to do some other things. Like, no, this is going to end after the big boss fight. Otherwise, I ran the trials pretty similarly. I took out a lot of the combat fights. And then, boy, folks can just watch that episode of Crafting Annihilation if you want to know, because I spent the entire episode of that week talking about this final boss fight, and it's been a whole thing. And this week, too. Ultimately, I feel like I could have run this entire final fight without a Serac. And I think it would have worked out. And I mentioned this in crafting. Like, you guys ended up actually it's hard to tell in the balance. Again, I was so nervous and anxious about it. But the Atropole and the Soulmonger ended up being a good boss battle. And what I probably should have done, if he wasn't on the damn cover, is use the Stone Sisters as part of the final boss fight. Do the trials, see the workshop, get teased. Yeah. And have them appear on the balcony watching, and it's just their whole plan is a bunch of night hags found this dead god. And then...
I probably would have... Well, I mean, the way we play it probably would have worked better, because we're kind of locked into our 3-hour sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So having a Serac show up at, hour 2:15 of a 3-hour session was a little weird.
Yeah, and I was really like, oh, crap. That ended up being our single longest session for sure.
Right. So yeah, I think that would have worked well. Yeah,
and honestly, you could have done this final coda thing at the epilogue where one of the surviving Stone Sisters, goes to the dimension and says, "Oh, this dead god that you found, these adventurers, whoever tries to fight them courts death." And then you've got a Serac/Thanos on his throne, turns around and smiles evilly, and it's like, oh shit, and that's just a fun little epilogue thing.
Next campaign.
Yeah, next campaign. So yeah, that's probably how I would have done it had I been better prepared for all of that, knowing that you don't really need a Serac at the end, and just at level 11 you can't really fight him anyway.
You did such a good job of playing up the Stone Sisters throughout the campaign as the threat.
Yeah,
they were the ones haranguing us.
I know.
And sending enemies against us.
Yeah.
So, and a Serac, I don't know if you ever even really saw him outside of the end.
No, he's at one cutscene in the beginning where he's getting a phylactery from that one lich, and then because he doesn't bother, he's an interdimensional, he's got shit going on, it's that same concept where he's not gonna fuck around with you guys, you're not at that level yet.
Yeah.
But the game wants you to do that. And I rebalanced the Trickster God things to where it was a whole craziness where you guys get 50 hit points around, so it becomes this pointless thing because the Serac can't do any damage to you at that point, and it's just tried to balance it as best I could. But yeah, Serac, ultimately you probably don't even need him. Yes, we're getting to that. Okay, so obviously the recap has taken a long time. I do have some fun stats to get through that we can go over. So obviously it took us a total of 86 sessions. I actually did write down as we went along, I wrote down the timestamp, the total length that each session was, and the final total minutes or hours. I don't know if anybody in chat has a guess about how many hours of content that is from Tomb of Annihilation. But the answer is... Oh, yeah, and I'll go ahead and start guessing about the next campaign. I've been enjoying that immensely, by the way, at the Discord chat. Everybody's going nuts about what the next campaign is going to be.
Wow, okay.
It was 14,998 minutes, or about 250 hours.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's how long Tomb was. That averages to just under 3 hours a session. Not including the fact that one of those was a weird, session 18-2 that we had to do a makeup.
Oh, right.
Longest session was the finale. It was 4 hours long, which was insane. Although this one's going to be a cut for the money, the recap, but nothing was even close to that long. Otherwise, they were all more like 3 hours. I mean, that was the average. Shortest session was session 26. Apparently, it was only an hour and 44 minutes, and it was on Thursday without Raymond. So I think we just had a quick, short, rescheduled session of maybe finishing something up.
Yeah.
The Perfect Attendance Award, I believe, goes to both Chris and Heather. I don't think either of you missed a single session in 86 sessions. That's damn impressive.
I'm sure a couple of those are from motels and other states.
I think they are, but you still called in, which is massive props for that. So here's a fun stat. I kept track of inspiration. Now I'm fairly certain this is not 100% accurate, but I think it's about 90% accurate. Like I probably missed some here and there, but I really did try to update it as we went. I tracked it by character. So, and chat, you can do this as well, but I guess those of you that are left, because this is going late, who do you think got the most inspiration, and how much do you think total inspiration was given out to everybody?
Chatted and shaved.
Somebody just noticed. Somebody just joined us.
Somebody just noticed.
He did shave. It was his tomb beard. Now that tomb is over, the beard is over. Yeah. So players, do you have a guess on who has the most inspiration, and how much roughly do you think? Or I could do an over under if you want to take the over the under. Let's do this. I'm gonna put the over under on inspiration at right at 99.5. So you can guess over if you think it was 100 or more inspiration was given out, or the under if you think it was 99 or fewer. Arno says George with 30. That is goddamn close. That's frighteningly close. That's really close.
I would guess George too, but I'm not positive.
Yeah. Player with the most inspiration. Total over 99. Arno, I'm worried you've been staring at my notes. Which my notes are available for Platinum patrons. I guess anybody could go in there and look at them, but that is over. Okay, maybe I said it too low. Players, do you have a guess?
I don't have a guess on numbers. I have no idea.
Yeah.
My sense of time doesn't work that way. But I would guess George. But I would have no way of guessing a number.
Roughly 1 inspiration per session. That's pretty close. Well, 1 total.
1 inspiration per session feels like a lot, but
I did way more than. Yeah, I did more than that.
Oh, really?
I know the total. You have to do the math real quick. But so here's the answer. George did get the most inspiration at 34.
Okay.
The total and again, I'm not 100%, but I'm like 90%. I was pretty close. I might have missed some. Was 128. So
okay.
Definitely more than 1 a session.
Yeah.
Second highest was actually Kaless.
Oh, nice.
Kaless at 28. The other fun stat I have is well, I have one of them. Most MVPCs voted on since we started doing that, which was session 65. So we did 20 sessions of having the chat vote for an MVPC in that session. The person who was voted the most was Mannix. 8 times. One of them as
how many?
8.
That's Cody.
One of them as Cody. Yeah,
Yeah.
You played a little boy.
I'll be honest with you. That's the one I'm most proud of.
You should be proud of that one for sure. The other stat I have is the number of times everybody went down to 0 hit points.
Mannix has got to have that one in the bag.
So here's the question.
Mannix went down. George went down a bunch too. You're right.
You all went down, yeah. Here's the question. Do you want to count the going down in the last fight when technically you got bounced back up by your trickster gods or not? Because I wrote them in parentheses because obviously 3 of you went down in that final fight. Do you want to count that one or not?
That? Down, yeah.
If we do count that one if we count that one as the fact that 3 people went down in the final fight, then I'll give it a second. But who do you think was the person who went down to 0 hit points the most out of everybody? And how many times? What is that number? How many times did the person who went down the most? How many times did they go down in the entire campaign? And what's funny is it took us quite a few sessions before anybody went down.
Right.
That's another fun stat, which I think I mentioned it earlier in the recap, was the first time somebody went down.
I don't know. I feel like Mannix went down 7 or 8 times over the course of the campaign.
That's pretty damn
But I'm not
close.
sure that's accurate.
That's pretty damn
Trying
close.
to count up the number of times miss a guy or bad arm or whatever.
Yeah, I did not count. I wrote down the consequence of each time. So like if you guys lost had an injury or something, but I didn't numerically like quantify that. So I'd have to just look and read what all of them happened. But I know there was a whole thing where you lost your eye for a while and Gillian lost her eye for a while. Gillian lost eyes multiple times, I believe. Arno, Mannix 7 times. Arno, how are you this good at getting stats, man? Altogether, maybe 15 times, I guess. I should have put an over-under on down times. Let's put the over-under on... let's put it at 19.5. So do you think the players went down 20 or more times in the course of the campaign, or 19 or fewer times? Going down to 0 hit points, even including the fact that 3 of them went down in the final fight. And I think that
I
would be...
would guess over 20. My guess would be like 23, 24 total. Yeah.
Let's say you're on the right track for sure. This is my final stat, and then we'll get to favorite moments, and then we will announce the next campaign. 26. Blanky, you're so close. Adam's taking the under. Man, 11. That's a lot. Even for Mannix, that's a lot. I mean, at one point, Mannix did get that Constitution thing where his hit points went back up to normal.
Right. It's not as much of a problem.
Yeah. So, the answer is the person who went down the most is a tie between Mannix and Gillian.
That makes sense.
Gillian caught up at the very end. She went down, and you did not. You had the last fight. And that number is 8. Both of you went down 8 times.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I totally believe it.
The total number of times people went down to 0 hit points in the course of this campaign is 27.
Did everybody go down at least once?
Everybody went down at least once. The total numbers, Mannix went down 8 times, Kales went down 2 times, Gillian 8, George 7, and Theron 5. Actually, that's probably 3 higher, isn't it? Because I don't think I added the 3 at the end. Is it 30 now? I need to do my math again. Somebody check my math real quick.
It went up.
Yeah, I don't think I actually counted the last 3. Let's see, 8 plus 2 plus 8 plus 7 plus 5. Yep, 30. So that's I did not include the last
30 total.
Yeah, 30 total. I didn't include the last 3. I forgot to update it. So if we include the last 3 times, it's actually 30 30 times folks went down. I don't know the percentage of the number of times you guys had lasting injuries. Again, I wrote them all down, but I didn't make the mathematical things there. All right, favorite moments. Mr. Mannix, what was your favorite moment in this campaign? Or Chris?
I gotta go with me. I gotta go with Fort Belwarian. Just that whole sequence was so much fun.
Yeah.
Just visualizing the whole sequence of Theron Spider crawling along the edge of the walls, like terrorizing guards. Meanwhile, Gillian, I think it was Gillian and me and George were her like bodyguards.
Yeah.
And Celeste was like outside, like doing other stuff, like trying to like sneak in. It was just such a great combination of just madcap antics that, that's gotta be my favorite.
And knowing that's such a fun thing for our group makes me feel like Tomb was maybe not the best choice. I still really enjoyed this campaign, but there wasn't a lot of opportunities for that kind of thing. It was much more of a pulpy adventure, danger everywhere, dungeons. There wasn't a lot of the madcap, like, socializing stuff to be had.
Right.
Reese, are you semi-conscious?
Yeah.
Do you know your favorite moment?
The dinosaur stacking doll.
The what? The dinosaur?
Of course, instead of the T-Rex. My dream come true.
What did he say? I don't...
When I was the Allosaurus instead of a T-Rex.
I don't even remember this. When was this?
I think it was
When
a beast.
Gillian polymorphed me into a T-Rex. Or I guess when I polymorphed myself. I forgot if I was control of a character or not.
What fight was
forgot.
that?
Yeah, what was
When
that?
that was.
I'm trying to remember what fight that was. I remember the moment because it was pretty great when you turn into a T-Rex, and then when you got out of the T-Rex form, you just turn into an Allosaurus. It's just
I don't remember that moment.
dinosaurs
Damn.
and dinosaurs.
Dinosaur stacking. I'll write that down. Fort Raymond's still dealing with this kid.
We got Rochelle's. We didn't get Heather's.
I know, I
Did
forgot
she
to get
tell you?
Heather's. Yeah, no, I'd have to ask her about it, but probably, if I had to guess, probably killing Orvex might have been probably her most satisfying moment. I think she enjoyed doing that a lot.
Torturing him endlessly.
Yeah. All right, this has been a very, very long recap. This is a very long campaign.
It was a very long game.
It was a very long game, and it was going to be a very long recap. Is it time to announce what we're doing next?
Sure.
Okay. How do we want to announce this? We didn't even talk about this.
Oh,
I've been a
I'll
tad
just
busy.
say-
I don't even, I could try to pull
Yeah.
the image up, but
It's fine now.
yeah. But
In the next campaign-
I'm gonna let Chris. Yeah, let's hear what you got.
Heroes that you may know from other campaigns who have been through other adventures will be pulled into another plane of existence. I'm trying to be as dramatic as possible.
I love it. Give me that drama. I eat that shit up with a spoon.
Heroes that you may know may be pulled into another plane of existence where a land of fey creatures is being invaded by armies of celestials and fiends in the war for the lost plane,
Excellent.
which is an entirely, well, I say entirely, but if you pay close attention, you'll probably notice elements from various other D&D components. But I'm using them in a homebrewed campaign that will be starting at level 12, where almost all of our previous campaigns have ended.
Yes.
Therefore, it will, for the most part, be starring heroes of previous campaigns. We don't yet know who those heroes are going to be. And that's where we need your help.
Please call it now.
Call this number.
Call this number. We'll send you a free tote bag.
There you go. You got the image. Yes. Yes, so this is legit. This may go real off the rails, guys, but this is a legit high level campaign.
Yeah.
12 to 20, intended to just be high level D&D because I wanted to see it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, so I want to do it.
Yep.
I don't know if it's gonna work. It won't work. We'll see.
So yeah. So.
Oh, I'm the DM. Yes. If we announcing it wasn't
Yes.
the tip
I was gonna do
I
yeah.
am the DM.
So rundown. Yeah, Chris is gonna DM. Which for those of you that have watched our campaigns for a while, me and Chris have done a fun thing where we kind of go back and forth, running campaigns, which has worked out really well. Chris did Storm King's Thunder, amazing DM, and then we've been wanting to do. All these campaigns have ended at 10 or 11 or 12, and so we're thinking, well, let's do something bigger, and Chris is interested in running some high-level monsters, and we thought, what if we do like the Avengers thing and have this high-level threat that brings together a lot of the characters we've been playing, and then, because they're all, at that level, and then they can all enter this thing. So, interestingly enough, we've been talking about this for a while, and none of us have actually really decided necessarily which characters we're actually going to play, so that's something I'm going to have fun with all of you in the Discord chat. I guess I'll need to set up a new tech server about the new campaign, as well as I can put up a Patreon poll about what characters you would like to see. I know a lot of you want to see Kalinar, but unfortunately Chris is DMing, so I guess Kalinar can be an NPC you could use.
He could show up.
Yeah,
he could show up.
He will show up. Fan favorite for sure. But yeah, we're thinking about it's actually going to be a tier 3, tier 4 campaign. We're excited.
So what I've asked everybody to do is basically pick a player that they have played in the past.
Yeah.
I'm exempting Eric from this because he's only played one character in the past.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that I have previously.
And I like.
But everybody else, we're trying to figure out who they should play of the 2 or 3 that they have played in the past.
Yeah, and I like Kazan a lot, but I am leaning towards playing a new character just because I've, I only have the one character I played. So. But yeah, we're excited about it. I think if we go ahead and announce the schedule that we've got, which is...
Yes, which is basically session 0. We're going to take a little bit of time off.
Yeah.
Let people deal with babies.
Let people deal with babies.
Says the single guy. And we will start with a session 0 on 8/14, which is, I believe, a month from now. Or just slightly over a month from now.
Yeah.
So we'll give everybody a month break, come back with fresh, high-level characters, 8/14, with the session 0.
Session 0. Okay.
Talk about how we're gonna start this off, and then we'll go from there.
Yep. The big change, I'll still be running the show, so you'll see it from my perspective, which I'll be a player, so that'll be different. And obviously, I'm not going to be doing a crafting for it because I'm not crafting it. Instead, what I would like to do, and something I talked about during crafting, is I want to eventually divorce. What I was doing for crafting was doing a post-mortem and then the crafting as half and half. I want to split that up into 2 videos. Well, I'm not going to be doing crafting this time, but what we can do is do the post-mortem kind of recap session. Probably, Chris, given your schedule, it'd be easiest just to do it that same night, honestly, when the session ends. I don't know if we'd be able to set a certain end time and be like, okay, now we need to start the other one, or we just want to float it and be like, all right, this session ends. Hey, everybody, if you want to hop into this live stream, we're going to do basically have a post-chat stream. If anybody wants to come to that, they can, but it would basically probably be me and Chris most of the time, just discussing, basically talking about the show, because you're going to be homebrewing it, so, and I'm going to be there.
Not a lot of
you don't want to be crafting it.
There's not a lot of crafting it from the existing thing.
But it would be fun to then talk about the yeah, and I think it'd be really fun for fans to be able to talk to you about stuff. And obviously you won't maybe get to too much spoiler stuff, but I found it was really, really helpful to just do those recaps and talk about that stuff. So that was really fun. So we'll plan on doing that as a post show thing, and then at some point. I will try to plan on what I'm doing next, and then I will go ahead and start my crafting stuff, and then I will really get on top of it and get ahead of it and be able to properly craft it, and that'll be something that we'll still discuss, because, spoiler alert, I haven't actually decided what I'm going to do next yet, and everybody's been talking about different things, and I'm still in the pre-production phase of that, whereas hopefully Chris is in straight-up production mode at this point for his campaign.
Right.
And yes, you will probably recognize a lot of the maps and dungeons he's using, but the whole thing is going to be
homebrew, because we're virtual tabletop. Homebrew means I steal from.
You steal from yeah,
all
which I think is what a lot of DMs do. Yeah, for sure. Indeed. Yeah, we might try to cap them for sure, especially since we're gonna have we've got babies everywhere. It might be helpful to hopefully we can start at like 9 and then maybe try to. It would be nice to start at 9 and end at 11:30 my time, I think, and then we could start the post show. But yeah,
Series.
Like the original schedule for this one.
Like the original schedule. Yes, exactly. This will be a shorter session. Yeah, that didn't work out. Oh boy. I think that's it, right? I think Chris, you and I will.
Well, talk about the polls, or have you decided how you're going to do the polls yet?
No.
Polls? I don't know if that was a thing.
Yeah, I mean, we can do a formal poll. Honestly, I was just going to kind of, people can just chat in the Discord about it or use comments here and just kind of talk about what characters they'd like to see. I mean, we can look at that stuff. We
got people in the chat calling for a leech throwing cleric.
Yeah.
All right, listen, chat. If you want me to be Tim, I need like a really and a cleric. That's the big thing, the cleric part. I need a really good fighting cleric. So give me some ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I did. Here's another caveat that I did talk to Reese about this before, previously, is that I would allow like sort of a soft reboot of characters. Yeah. Like it's the same character.
It's the Mass Effect 2 thing where it's like you can reboot. Start
back from 1 and level that character up. You know, like so if Tim ends up being more fighter than cleric or just fighter, fine. It's
whatever.
It's still Tim.
You get a free respec.
Well, also called for Tim, so
right.
Yeah, I think I'm doing Tim.
Allow free respec for all the new characters going in. I am really excited though. So we are going to take a pretty big break here, about a month off. No craftings, no D&Ds. Hopefully I can still put out my videos. Obviously my life's a little chaotic right now, but I plan on still doing some Let's Plays and video reviews. But yeah, stay tuned. We'll be taking a break for about a month, and then we will fire up with Chris's campaign, and we'll be all kinds of excited about that. And Chris, I would like to get to you together with you at some point before that and put together an actual video announcement so that people don't, people who aren't watching this live, they're going to miss what's going on if they don't watch to the end of this, whatever, 4-hour freaking session. Yeah, exactly. So we'll put together an actual shorter session that's kind of a trailer for, I guess, what's coming. And then you can really do your cheesy ass intro shit, which would be funny. Yeah. And that would be a helpful one where people can then comment on that video and say, okay, here's what we want to see.
Oh, yeah.
Indeed. All right, folks. We have made it. We've been dropping like flies. I appreciate everybody who stayed on this late. I'm planning on staying up half the night so that my wife can sleep for once. So I'm going to be up till about 4 or 5 in the morning right here. I'm prepared for it. But I think that will do it for Tomb of Annihilation. That will do. I'm getting emotional now. That's going to do it for Tomb of Annihilation.
I know, it's the end.
It's the end.
Almost 2 years later.
It's a giant part of my life. I don't want to shave this. It's been such a part of my life for so long.
Your tomb beard. Tomb beards must go.
Tomb beard. No. All right. Thank you to Chris, Heather, Rochelle, Raymond, and Reese for playing. Thank you to our wonderful, wonderful fans for watching. Go to roguewatson.com for recaps. Patreon.com/RogueWatson if you'd like to support the channel. We are currently not live streaming our D&D adventures every week, but we will see you in August. Take care.
Don't worry, the beard will be back in 3 months.
Gone for only the moment.
That's the final teaser that comes up. The beard will return.
It'll be another 3 years before I shave again.
That's right.
It's the end of the beard. Then we'll start up the Lost Plains beard or whatever.
Lost Plains beard.
Well, at the start I'll have Lost Plains stubble.
That's right. Yep.